Thanks for taking the time to download the Inside the Jungle podcast. To send along your feedback about this show, send your emails to insidethejungle@spnt.tv.
What's happening, Bengals fans? It's Inside the Jungle, a special Webgating edition. We're talking playoffs. We'll look back at what happened on Sunday against the Steelers. We won't talk too much about it because there's a lot to look forward to Sunday as the Bengals head up to Indy to take on the Indianapolis Colts in the wild card weekend. Want to hear your New Year's resolutions for this team and more? Get in touch, Bengals fans. Time for the roundtable.
This is the Wednesday Night Roundtable with Nick Superling, Mickey Menzer, Anthony Cosenza, and Scott Bantel.
Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of the 2015 year Inside the Jungle. It's a special edition of the Wednesday Night Roundtable here on Saturday afternoon. We're doing some webgating as the playoffs will be kicking off in about 18 minutes. Hope you can join us and have your thoughts heard. Get in touch, 404-946-3397. If you're outside the country as well, Inside the Jungle is the Skype account. Joining me for the time being, Mr. Scott Bantel. Scott, how you doing, buddy? Happy New Year.
Hey, Happy New Year, Nick. Good to be here. Fourth season in a row, we get to talk about Bengals playoff football.
That's right. 4 years in a row. It's fantastic. I know we haven't had the results we all hope in the playoffs, but hey, look, you can't win a playoff game if you don't get there. That's the way I look at it, at least. There's a lot to look forward to. We just got the news literally 15 minutes ago that A.J. Green has been ruled out. This is official from the Bengals. He will not play Sunday against the Indianapolis Colts. So we'll talk about what that means for this team moving forward, on Sunday, how that affects the offense, how that affects Andy Dalton, Jeremy Hill, and the gang. Hopefully we'll be joined by Mickey Menzer and Anthony Cosenza throughout the program. Coming up at 5:15, that's a 2-hour special today. We're going to go for 2 hours. 5:15, we'll be joined by Jeff Hobson of Bengals.com to get his take on and get the latest from everything Bengals related. But as I said, get in touch. 404-946-3397 is the Jungle line. Let's welcome in Mike Hudson Sucks to the program. Mike, how you doing, man?
I'm all right, brother.
Happy New Year, man.
Happy New Year, brothers. I was sitting there. I just donated plasma down in Hawksworth, and I was getting, the news went from bad to worse on the Twitter as I was sitting there. But I'm really glad that the Bengals have built the depth they have with guys like Marvin Jones and Tyler Eifert and Dane Sanzenbacher, guys that can just step in there and fill the shoes of A.J. Green.
Well, Dane Sanzenbacher won't be filling any shoes. He's on injured reserve.
That's why I picked those three guys.
That's a good point. Yeah, look, I don't know. I guess I have my own thoughts on A.J. Green, especially with what happened on Sunday night in Pittsburgh, and actually the last 2 weeks with A.J. Green. It sucks not having him just for the mere threat that he poses for this offense, Mike. But I think him being out, I think that just means they're going to emphasize the run game hopefully a lot more.
That's right. Well, hopefully they do something that works out.
Yeah, I mean they've had all kinds of terrible luck in the playoffs. Maybe this is just the thing that this team needs. Something different and something that I don't know. I'm grasping at straws here, Mike. But give me your bold prediction. Give me a score prediction for Sunday's game against the Colts.
All right, you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Hang on to your hat. Greg Little, 2 touchdowns, 180 yards. We win 24-10.
That's right. That's a big bold prediction there about Greg Little, but he may have to have that kind of production now that A.J. Green is officially out. Mike, appreciate the call. Enjoy the rest of your shopping day, my friend.
Rock on, gentlemen.
Who day? That's Mike Hudson Sucks getting us started. The first caller of the 2015 years. We welcome in the man of the hour, Mr. Anthony Cosenza over on the left coast. AC, what's happening, man? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I apologize for being late. Didn't know what I did to deserve being the man of the hour, but I appreciate that, and Happy New Year's to you guys.
Happy New Year, man. Did you have a good holiday week?
I did. I snuck away for a couple days with the wife, did a little snowboarding actually, and did some stuff for the site as well, and now gearing back up for the big game this weekend.
Very cool. Very rad, as they like to say in the snowboard circles, right?
That's right. Yeah. Shredding.
Did you get any cool Bengals swag for Christmas?
I got a lot of cool stuff actually. Yeah. As you guys know, I recently moved, and I'm creating one of the extra bedrooms as kind of a little Bengals man cave. So my wife got me a lot of cool stuff for that. My brother got me one of those cool beanies and a couple shirts. So I got set up pretty well.
How about you, Scott? Did you get any new Bengals gear for yourself this Christmas?
Well, I got a pretty sweet Bengals Inside the Jungle T-shirt. Outside of that, I didn't get anything. But what else does a man need when you got a new Inside the Jungle T-shirt?
This is true. Yeah, I got some cool stuff. My mom got me a long sleeve Bengals tee, and my mother-in-law actually got me one of those Bengals calendars. This has got like trivia on it. I don't know if you guys can see it. So I'm actually looking forward to using that on the show this year. So we have some trivia questions as well throughout the year, and I'll ask one of the trivia questions I got this week to one of our callers. But I'd love to hear what you got for Christmas as far as the Bengals go. The playoffs being a Christmas present, maybe a playoff win would be a nice gift tomorrow. If the Bengals can knock off the Colts. I don't know if you heard the news, AC, since you're just joining us, but A.J. Green is officially out against the Colts tomorrow. Your initial thoughts about the loss of Green?
I actually had not heard that. I was keeping an eye on the wire this morning and then had to take care of some stuff, personal stuff, before the show here. So I did not see that officially come through. Not really surprising, given what he's dealing with, and kind of the semi-quick week, being that was a night game last week. So pretty big bummer, pretty big hit. I think everybody would agree with that. I think they're probably going to have to really focus on the running game, get both running backs involved, and they're going to need to get creative to come out with this win without him in the lineup.
How about you, Scott? Your thoughts now that Green's out?
Yeah, I mean, that's a big hit. I don't think necessarily missing Green is huge in a vacuum, except for the fact of the other weapons they're missing. Obviously they've been missing them all year long, but their number 2 option was Jones, 3 was Eifert, so they're missing those guys as well. And it allows the Colts to – I know the Bengals are obviously going to be focusing on the run more, but it allows the Colts now to key on that run more, which it hurts from that aspect. So, yeah, I think they'll be fine without him, but disappointing to hear he won't be there.
We've got plenty of time to preview and talk about the Colts game on Sunday. I want to actually take a step back and recap what happened last week against the Steelers on Sunday Night Football. Normally we start off the show with our best and worst. So I'll start with you, Scott. Give me your best and worst of Sunday night's loss to the Steelers.
Well, the good, I'd have to say, be the continued success of the run game. They didn't get the amount of yards they did the previous 2 weeks, but they still got 100 yards against the Steelers. Steelers came in with the 6th-ranked rushing offense, and I believe that was the first Bengals running back to get 100 yards against them in I can't remember what the stat was. It was a long time. It was about 10 years. So that was good to see. The bad, there were a couple, but I would say the most frustrating was the punt return. It's amazing that Antonio Brown has 3 punt return touchdowns, all 3 coming in against the Bengals, and all 3 at Heinz Field. So, the special teams had been a strength of the Bengals all year long. Frustrating to see that come up and bite them right before the playoffs because, a big special teams gaffe like that in the playoffs is just the type of thing that you can't have happen.
I blame Josh Kirkendall for that because he did tweet out the fact that the longest punt return the Bengals had given up all season was 11 yards. And on the first punt at Heinz Field Sunday night, what does Antonio Brown do? He takes it to the house. So I'm blaming you, Josh Kirkendall.
I blame Andy Dalton.
You blame Dalton for that too?
Yeah, I don't think he stayed in his coverage lane. So I'm going to go with Dalton on that one.
Solid. I like it. Your best and worst, AC, from Sunday night's game?
No, we should just get shirts. Just say blame Dalton. That seems to be the chorus line, right? Well, for the worst, Scott took my worst. I was going to go with the punt return, and he threw out some stats there that are pretty they're unbelievable. And the special teams units have been pretty outstanding for the Bengals on both respects this season. So it was kind of disheartening to see that. I guess I'll just say, and I guess I harp on this a lot, but the most disappointing thing about that game was just the Bengals kind of getting out physicaled again by the Steelers. And you just keep waiting for that game that the Bengals start really slugging it out with the Steelers, and they kind of beat them at their own game. They show more fire, more attitude, and I get that game was on the road and the Steelers fed off of the crowd, but man, I just would really like to see the Bengals step up and start slugging it out with the Steelers more often. It's kind of a shame that it hasn't really played out that way. The best, you could go running game, you could go a couple of different things. I'm actually gonna give a shout out to a guy. I'm going to go Jermaine Gresham, and here's why. He made a couple of catches when Green was struggling kind of early. He had a touchdown, and he really took a shot and got hurt. He was helping out in the blocking game a little bit as well. So I'm going to say Jermaine Gresham played pretty well, as did Andrew Whitworth, absolutely engulfing James Harrison at every opportunity. So those two guys kind of stuck out a little bit for me.
My best and my worst. I'll start with my best. I'll say, I guess I'll continue to harp on the fact that they were able to run the football. And I guess you can also say I think they did a good job in stopping the run as well. They kept Le'Veon Bell in check for the most part. Now, he was able to get his yards through the air in the passing game, but from a rushing standpoint, he really wasn't all that effective when you consider how much he ran against them earlier in the month in December. So those are kind of my 1A and 1B as far as my best for the game. My worst, and I hate and I don't want to sound like a Debbie Downer because that's normally not what I'm like, but I've been real disappointed the last 2 weeks with our stud Pro Bowl wide receiver A.J. Green. The lights were on. The lights have been on the last 2 weeks, and I know some of it may not be entirely his fault, but you cannot fumble the ball in the fourth quarter on the final drive in the game that you're trying to tie or take the lead. You just cannot do that. Pro Bowl receivers don't do that, and I guess that's the most frustrating thing for me. And maybe this is, again, not entirely his fault. A lot of people blame Dalton. There we go again. Hashtag blame Dalton, right, guys? I don't know. I guess that's why I'm getting frustrated. This is an all-pro, Pro Bowl guy that everybody thinks is the greatest receiver in the world, and I guess I'm still waiting for that greatness to show up consistently. And I know it's maybe unfair because he needs a quarterback to get him the ball, but at the same time, you've got to dominate, and I have not seen that in 2014 from him.
Yeah, I have a quick thought on that, Nick, and I sent a tweet out about this after that game. I don't know if you guys read it and or agree with this, but it doesn't seem that Andy Dalton and A.J. Green play well at the same time. It seems as if Andy Dalton struggles and A.J. Green has to come up with a miraculous catch, miraculous play. He has to come back for a ball, make plays that are those wow A.J. Green moments. But other times, Green is fumbling the ball. Andy Dalton's actually pretty sharp. He's moving the ball. He's moving the offense. He gets Green the ball. There's a drop. There's a mental mistake. There's a fumble, and it's really a shame because if those two could find a way to really click at the same time, I think this offense is just gonna really take a big leap forward. But they don't seem to do that very often, and I don't know if that's just me trying to nitpick and find a weird observation, but I don't know. That's just something I've kind of observed over the course of the year.
It's not just this year, and Scott, this is the previous 3 playoff games. He's been a non-factor as well. We saw it a year ago against San Diego. He had potential to catch a huge deep throw that would have kept the Bengals in the game possibly, but instead it goes through his arms. He was non-existent in Houston in 2 playoff games. And again, maybe this is unfair. I go back to his days at Georgia, and I don't ever recall him having great games against the elite teams in the SEC. I'm not doubting his talent. I think A.J. Green is a great receiver. Don't get me wrong. I'm waiting for his greatness to appear when the lights are on. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, Nick, I think you're 100%. And that's what drives me nuts. I know in the past I've sounded like a AJ Green hater on the show, and I'm certainly not. I like AJ Green. I think he's a great player. But the problem I have with Green is, hidden in Dalton's bad primetime numbers are equally bad AJ Green numbers. And, I know the AJ or the Dalton haters like to say, the ball's 20 yards away from him, he can't catch it. But that's not the case. He has dropped. You mentioned it in the San Diego game. That ball went right through his hands. He has had some big drops and some big gaffes in big games. And somehow or another, he skirts it. And, last week was a perfect example. I mean, take a look at that first interception. Obviously, the guys weren't on the same page. But, Dalton gets all of the blame that I see on Twitter for that interception where, A.J. Green stopped his route. The ball was in the air by the time Green stopped. That's on Green. And regardless, he had a chance to tackle the defender in the end zone, and he made a terrible effort to do so. If he tackles that guy, that's a safety, and the Bengals get the ball back. But he made a poor effort, and then at the end of the game, like you said, they're driving. They're already in field goal range. It looks like they're probably going to go in and win the division. And what's he do? He doesn't secure the football, coughs it up, game over. So, I like AJ Green, but you're right. He has not come up big in big games, and he manages to not get any criticism for doing so.
It's like he can do no wrong, and if we're basing it on, everything that we see on Twitter, which Lord knows we shouldn't, I think he just can't do any wrong. And again, I agree with you, Scott. I think he's a good receiver. I think he's the best receiver that the Bengals have, and he has played big in big-time games. Don't get me wrong, but I'm talking in a prime time when the lights are on in the playoffs. He has been a non-factor, and maybe it's unfair because it takes two to tango when it comes to this game of football. He needs a quarterback to get him the football, but. And I'm just wondering what your thoughts are. I'll throw this to you, Scott. How much of the lack of another legit receiving threat on the opposite side has affected Green? I like Mohamed Sanu, but we're talking about a guy who's a converted quarterback for one, and two, he has not had the best of years either.
Yeah, I mean, I think the loss of Marvin Jones hurt because, Marvin Jones really stepped up last year, and you saw the difference, with Dalton and with Green when you had a legit number two on the opposite side of him. The other thing I was going to say about Green is completely drew a blank, but
and we're off to 2015 with a bang.
Exactly. So. But the problem that Dalton has this year, and I guess Green as well, is that, Sanu had a good start to the year, but he's been terrible of late, or maybe not terrible, maybe just non-existent is the term we should be using. So, that hurts Dalton, and it hurts Green as well.
I actually think the Eifert loss is huge. You saw just a short glimpse in that Ravens game, and he was carving them up. That's just a target that they didn't consistently have. He's got more straight line speed than Jermaine Gresham. He probably arguably has better hands than Gresham does. He's not the physical blocker type that Gresham is, but I think you take that out of the passing offense, and I think you really look at what Hugh Jackson wanted to do with this offense, and it really centered around utilizing Eifert, getting a big play from Green, and run the football. And I think he wanted to set up a lot of those big plays to both the tight end and A.J. Green, maybe sprinkling the other receivers as well. But he wanted to utilize those big plays off of play action. So I think not having an Eifert to use the middle of the field, move the chains consistently, I think that hurts Dalton in this offense. And potentially even Green as well, to your original point, Nick.
Yeah, and Nick, my thought came back to me from before. So 2015, I'm back. When we talk about the frustrations of Green, we know Dalton gets a lot of criticism, and rightfully so. But NFL.com or NFL Network did that top 100 players this summer, and Dalton's nowhere on there, nor should he be. But remember, A.J. Green was number 9 on that list. And when you're considered to be the number 9 player in the NFL, you've got to be more reliable than that. I mean, you have to come up big. You cannot keep coming up so small in big games. I mean, between the two, A.J. Green is certainly the more talented and better football player between Green and Dalton. And, for him to keep coming up so small against not just in big games, but when he plays other good defensive backs, it seems like he shrinks away. So, again, not to bang on Green, but I guess I am banging on Green.
A little bit. And look, it sounded like I was banging on Green too. And I guess I'm just frustrated because this is our Pro Bowl guy, our Pro Bowl receiver. And how he made the Pro Bowl this year, I'm really surprised in the fact that he made it. He missed a lot of time this year. He still managed to get quite a, he still managed to get 1,000 yards this year. And I guess I'm frustrated because this is supposed to be our premier player, and yet for whatever reason in big games in the playoffs and primetime games, he's just non-existent. And I go back to the game against Denver 2 weeks ago when he goes up for that ball that he got ultimately injured on. I know the throw was high, but he goes up for it with one hand. Maybe he doesn't injure his bicep if he goes up for it with two hands, and I don't know. Again, I'm grasping at straws here. I haven't had a chance to vent since that Steelers game. I'm frustrated that A.J. Green fumbled that ball when he did, and now he's not going to play Sunday against the Indianapolis Colts. But one thing that I'm sure we will talk about as far as the team goes moving forward, especially Sunday, and looking back at how he performed this past week against the Steelers, Jeremy Hill has proven to be probably right now the Bengals' best player on offense. Would you agree, AC?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've done a little bit of the research on him because I really like what I'm seeing out of him, not only from his running style, his blend of power and shiftiness, but also his attitude. He plays like he has a lot of fun out there. He likes to talk trash, but he backs it up. And I like seeing that out of a player. And obviously not to the point of getting a penalty or anything like that. But I like watching him play. In the last 9 games, so you look back to when Giovanni Bernard was injured, and then probably about a month and a half ago when Hugh Jackson made this call to say, hey, Hill's going to get the majority of the touches. He's going to be the quote-unquote starting back. So we look back at 9 games. He's had 5 100-yard games, and 4 of those 5 were 140 or more. And then, he's popped numerous big plays in that span. So the Bengals are 6-3. In those 9 games, some of which were very difficult games. Obviously, the 2 Pittsburgh games, the Cleveland game, Denver. So to get 6 wins out of that stretch is pretty impressive, I think. And he's really been kind of especially with all the injuries on both sides of the ball, being able to just turn around, hand the ball off to the guy, and have him create plays in the running game helps everybody. And I think he's been a big key to why this team really made a late push this season and get into the playoffs. 23
carries, 100 yards for Jeremy Hill. He just fell short of the Bengals rookie record set by Corey Dillon back in '97. You look though at this game, 70 offensive plays compared to 57 for the Steelers. They held the ball for 34 minutes. They did a good job of keeping the Steelers offense on the sideline. Now Roethlisberger 24 of 38. And Le'Veon Bell, he only had 8 carries for 20 yards. And you're thinking, Scott, you held Le'Veon Bell to 20 yards rushing. You're probably going to win this game, but yet the fumble in the fourth quarter, the punt return, and that's the difference in the game right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we talk about the Bengals primetime struggles, that's a game I look at and said, as a whole, the Bengals didn't play that bad of a game. I mean, they played well enough to win that game. The loss came in kind of some of those hidden aspects, the punt return and the fumble. I mean, the Bengals, they missed a field goal, and those are the types of things we talk about with this team when it comes to playoffs and primetime games is, those hidden things, the punt returns, the missed field goals, the turnovers deep in the other team's territory that cost them a field goal. So, I thought the Bengals moved the ball well on offense. I thought their defense played well. I mean, you take away that 63-yard touchdown, which I certainly thought was pass interference, offensive, but you take away that, and the defense played very well. So I was, sure I didn't want to lose to the Steelers, but I was pretty encouraged by, overall. I thought they played a pretty good game with what was on the line. So, I was pretty encouraged.
They did a good job, AC, of keeping Ben Roethlisberger, and though Antonio Brown ended up with over 100 yards receiving, good portion of that came, like Scott said, on that 63-yard touchdown there. So the defense, I thought they did a great job of keeping the Steelers in check. We're just talking about a couple of chunk plays that doomed the Bengals.
Yeah, I see where you guys are coming from. I don't think I fully agree, though. I mean, from the offensive standpoint, the Bengals did commit 3 turnovers themselves. That doesn't help. I think they were even on the turnover battle. I mean, they got that terrible fake punt call. I don't know what was going on in Tomlin's head to go for that thing, but they got an interception there. They intercepted Roethlisberger, and then he, had a mental lapse and fumbled the ball on a weird snap, and so it balanced out. But I mean, you have to sit there and you look at that and you say, okay, the Bengals get 3 turnovers in Heinz Field on prime time, and they still lose the game to the Steelers. How does that happen? Well, it's these fluky plays, it's the punt return touchdowns and things like that. But you look at both games this season, Ben Roethlisberger had 300 yards passing in both games. So I can't really sit here and say, hey, outstanding defensive effort. I like the turnovers. I like that. But no sacks, no pressure, and you lose the game. And I'm going to tell you what, if that continues on this weekend, they're going to be one and done again if they can't pressure Andrew Luck and get some form of pressure on him, because that doesn't work in the playoffs.
I'd love to hear your thoughts, Bengals fans. 404-946-3397 is the number to call. We're talking about the Steelers game Sunday night. We're also looking ahead to Sunday's wild card matchup against the Indianapolis Colts. Get your thoughts in. Give us your bold predictions for Sunday and the score predictions as well. Let's go to the Jungle Line. Area code 703. Hi, who's this?
Hi, this is Richard Rolson.
Hey, Richard. How you doing? Happy New Year, man.
Happy New Year. I'm doing good. I'm excited and also a little bit of trepidation over tomorrow's game. In some ways, losing to the Steelers, the one consolation I took was I thought that Indianapolis, we had a better chance of winning because they haven't been playing well either. That said, and to follow up on what Anthony was just saying, is that I think our defense has to do something to get pressure on. I thought one of our big mistakes last week is, like, I had watched us really kind of confuse Peyton Manning, and yet we didn't seem to do anything to, try to, like, throw a monkey wrench into Ben Roethlisberger, and he was just sitting there all day. I mean, we couldn't get any pressure. I think one of our biggest off-season acquisitions, either through free agency or draft, needs to be another person who can rush the quarterback, because we just didn't have any pressure, and if you give Ben Roethlisberger that much time, he's going to pick you apart, which he did to 300 yards. But the reason I originally was calling was I went back and I watched the game again. I watched some other games this year with Andy Dalton, and the thing that I think he needs to work on, and I was like looking at how other quarterbacks that are like quote unquote the elite quarterbacks is, they take a little bit more of what's given to them. And I think Andy Dalton hasn't quite figured out how to do that, because there were a couple times that he threw into, double coverage to, AJ Green when he had like a 4 or 5 yard dump off to, Giovanni Bernard. And I just think that there's a little bit sometimes, because he does expect AJ Green to make the catch, and AJ Green is a really, really good receiver. I don't think he's elite yet, but really, really good. That he tries a harder throw to him than just taking a quick dump pass to Bernard or to Sanu. Because again, I went back and I looked, and there were times Sanu's open, but he doesn't even get a look. And I know he's dropped some, but he's out there, and he's our second best receiver right now. So you have to at least try to give him. I'd rather throw to open Sanu than a double covered Green. So. Anyway, Happy New Year. Hope you're doing a show after tomorrow's game, and I hope we finally break the long drought of playoff games. And I'll get off and let someone else call in.
Well, I appreciate the call, Richard. Happy New Year. Yep, I'll be on the air tomorrow after the game. Do you have a bold prediction for Sunday? Oh, he hung up. All right. Appreciate the call, Richard. Happy New Year as well. If you want to get in touch, 404-946-3397 is the number to call. I want to touch on a couple of his points. Most importantly, talking about Andy Dalton. The one thing I've noticed with Dalton, and maybe I don't know if this is just his nerves kicking in, but he tends to leave the pocket a little earlier than he really needs to. Maybe because he feels the rush coming on, but sometimes there's a rush that's not there, and you see him just bail and move out of the pocket when he doesn't need to. But I also think that he forces the ball into A.J. Green way too often. He leads the NFL. If you look, I think I saw a stat. He's got 26 interceptions over the last 2 or 3 years just by trying to throw the ball to A.J. Green, Scott.
Yeah, and that's a product of, I guess that's one thing that will be nice this weekend is I think that stat is a product of Green or Dalton sometimes forcing the ball to Green. Sometimes when he's in trouble, he just throws the ball up there and hopes that A.J. Green will make a play, which, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Without Green on the field, he won't have that safety blanket, which, may actually be a good thing. The other hidden aspect of that stat is, we've talked about it on the show as well, is there's been a number of picks where Green's either stopped his route or, could have played defense and knocked the ball down and has kind of left Dalton out to dry. So, there's a couple ways you can look at that stat. But I think it is a product of Dalton maybe looking to Green too much and too often.
I'm kind of shocked about the Green bashing today. I didn't expect this really. I mean, I know there was the big fumble, but I mean, let's not forget there are throws where Green is wide open on a slant across the middle, and Andy Dalton overthrows him by 5 feet over his head, over his leaping hand extended over his head. So I mean, we can't really forget about that kind of stuff. But
you think he's throwing high, AC, because he's got a history of the ball being batted down at the line of scrimmage, and that pick by Watt may have gotten into his head that he has to throw high on those routes?
It's possible, but and this goes back to your original question, Nick. You're talking about system and what's Andy doing this year, and there are a lot of Gruden bashers. I was one of them a little bit, but one thing that Jay Gruden did stress with Andy Dalton is you saw more of Dalton go through his reads a little bit more instead of locking on one guy if it's not there, tucking and maybe running. And you see that a little bit more with Hugh Jackson this year. I don't know if you want to call that a regression. I don't know if you want to call that playing it a little more safe and not forcing throws. But I see him look at his primary target. It's not there, then scramble, and then maybe he'll see a back kind of coming free, a Gio Bernard or whoever, and he flips it out to him and maybe makes a play there. I'm not seeing Dalton consistently drop back and go through his reads. It's also a positive, though, in one way because he's not getting sacked. He's one of the fewest sacked quarterbacks this year. So, I mean, it eliminates that possibility, too. So, I don't know. I see some positives in Dalton this year, some improvement areas, and I see some regression areas. And you just asked a question, Nick, about, is it in his head or whatever. I think Andy Dalton maybe needs to work on his footwork, and I think that plays into the inconsistency with the deep ball that we've seen over the years. I think there's some accuracy issues that probably come into footwork, and that's not only on Dalton, but that's on coaching as well.
Love to get your thoughts. 404-946-3397 as we welcome in John from Kentucky to the program. John, how you doing, man?
Hey, Nick. Just everybody. First of all,
you're cutting in and out, John.
Hang on, is that better?
I think so. Happy New Year, man. How you doing?
All right. I turned the thing down on my computer. Is that better?
Not really. Do me a favor. Call back. We'll get a new connection and see if that helps any better.
Okay. I'll call you back.
All right. 404-946-3397. I'm not bashing Green because I think it's not entirely his fault, AC, but I think that I guess the frustrating part is I see as soon as something bad happens with Dalton, the blame is immediately thrown his way, that he's the worst thing at quarterback since Ryan Leaf. but I think that A.J. Green escapes a large portion of fair criticism that he has deserved.
I don't disagree with that. And your elite players need to come up in big moments and make these plays. That's what creates Hall of Fame careers. And A.J. Green is a statistical monster. He's had some big games. We talked about it in our little chat deal against the Ravens primarily, and that's great. But he gets locked.
Game against the Steelers.
Yeah, but there are other times where you go, okay, well, if this is one of the best receivers in the league, where are you today? Where's your head at? And it's kind of mind-boggling, and unfortunately, it kind of encapsulates this team and how it's been under Marvin Lewis. I mean, there's just things that in big games or big moments they let things snowball on them and they don't recover. I don't know. I don't know if it's an organizational culture thing or whatever, but at some point they got to get past that because they're going to keep hitting this one and done wall in the playoffs if they don't.
Let's try this again. John from Kentucky, can you hear us?
I hear you just fine. Can you hear me okay?
I think we got you loud and clear now. Happy New Year, man.
Oh, Happy New Year. Yeah, okay. Well, A.J. Green, for some reason, did not tuck the ball in. And Nick, I remember when I was a kid playing football, the first thing the coaches taught you as soon as you get the ball is immediately you tuck the ball. Immediately. Am I right or wrong about that?
No, you're right.
Oh, well, I don't know why he didn't do that. I mean, when he caught the ball, if you watch the highlights, he's got it with two hands away from his body. This guy's a turnover waiting to happen. Okay? I don't know what defender in the NFL is not going to take the ball away from you if you do that. And then when you watch the highlights, he gets into a tug of war. Just in a flash. He's in a tug of war with the guy. Now he's off balance. Now he goes down, boom. He gets hit. Now he's got a concussion. So, A.J. Green, we could not have moved the ball the way we did against Pittsburgh without A.J., I don't think. But at the same time, A.J. Green, with 3 minutes left, a chance to get down there, get a touchdown, run a lot of time off the clock. Because of his fumble, that cost the Bengals the game. That's my opinion. Now, we can say, well, the defense didn't get enough pressure and this and that. Hey, look, there's 3 minutes left. I remember too many times Joe Montana and Jerry Rice winning a game at the last minute. Why can't Cincinnati do that?
That's the golden question. I don't know. I don't know if it's play calling. I don't know if it's the quarterback. I don't know. But, look, they're in the playoffs. I know we all wanted them to win the AFC North. And maybe them losing, and we'll talk about why losing might not have been such a bad thing coming up, but I know you're pumped about the Colts game, so give me your thoughts. How are they going to do on Sunday?
Right. It's time to move forward. The Colts. Well, I think it's going to be a different game than we saw earlier in the year. Cincinnati is going to run the ball much better than they were. And the Colts' offensive line is not all that good, and they've lost some key players there, and they don't have Ahmad Bradshaw running the ball, and Trent Richardson, I wouldn't put a lot of faith in him, so I think Cincinnati wins this game. I do, and hopefully we will have A.J. Green back after this game. But excuse me, my voice is a little bit hoarse. I'm a little under the weather, but I do think we win this game tomorrow, and if I was to give a score prediction, I would probably go 27-17 Cincinnati. And as far as a bold prediction goes, I would say the Bengals would sack Andrew Luck 5 times. That might not be all that bold. I think they will do.
5 sacks on Andrew Luck. That would be bold for this non-existent pass rush.
Yeah, that's true. Well, look, I mean, the pass rush was pretty good against Cleveland. It wasn't too awful bad against Denver. Pittsburgh's offensive line is pretty good. It's hard to get to them. But one more thing before I go, Le'Veon Bell, he is just lucky. His foot did not get caught in the grass. Had that happened, I mean, his leg would have been like a pair of scissors. Not that I relish in that, but he's just fortunate. And I guess it's a shame for Pittsburgh that he can't play tonight. But I am on the Ravens bandwagon because the Ravens have an opportunity, if Cincinnati can keep winning, to bring the AFC Championship game to Cincinnati. And if they could get through Pittsburgh and New England, Cincinnati through Indy and Denver, well, there you have it.
It would be a long stretch, but it would be pretty cool if it did happen. But I think I'm rooting for Baltimore to knock off the Steelers, because if the Bengals do beat Indy, that means they're going to Denver, a team they just beat and are confident playing against.
That's right. Now, one more thing about A.J. Green, too. He had been hurt, but if you can't tuck the ball in, you don't need to receive the ball. You might be okay to block and run routes and try to confuse the defense. But if you're not going to tuck the football, you can't be in the NFL. You are a turnover waiting to happen. So hopefully we don't see this out of him again, especially in a big game like that. You will cost your team the game. That's my opinion.
Fair enough. Hey, John, appreciate the call, and we'll talk to you tomorrow after Bengals win, hopefully.
All right. Hooday.
Hooday. That's John from Kentucky here on the Jungle Line, ringing in with his thoughts on A.J. Green. Let's talk about what the loss means for the Bengals moving forward. If they had won, they would have been hosting a Baltimore Ravens team who was playing very well, and it's a Baltimore Ravens team they've beaten twice this year. We all know the cliche. It's hard to beat a team 3 times in 1 year. Instead, they get to they go on the road to Indy, a team who has 0 running game. Andrew Luck turns the ball over quite a bit and hadn't been playing that great of football over the last month of the season. It also means in 2015, they're going to play the Buffalo Bills and the Houston Texans rather than the New England Patriots and the Denver Broncos. So it makes their schedule for 2015 a lot easier. I think they catch a big break there. So, Scott, I'll throw it to you. I know you wanted the Bengals to win the AFC North for the second year in a row. But I think ultimately them losing might have benefited the team down the road.
Yeah, it was kind of one of those weird games because, I hate the Steelers, and I can never root for the Bengals to lose to the Steelers. But, I think the matchup against the Colts is actually a better matchup. I didn't like the idea of playing the Ravens for a third time. To beat a team 3 times in a year is tough. I did not like that matchup. And the way the Colts have been playing recently, I thought the Bengals match up very well. And I think this is a more winnable game in Indy. And then on top of that, like you mentioned, Nick, that's a big positive for next year that they escape the Patriots and the Colts and play the Bills, who are now down Kyle Orton and Doug Marrone, and who's the other one?
Texans.
Texans.
Houston,
yeah. Right. So, that is a big positive when you look at next year as far as the scheduling goes. So all in all, I actually think that loss helped out.
I get it. I get the sentiment, and I actually said the same thing on Twitter. I said, the Bengals in the afternoon when I was watching the slate of games, the Bengals may want to think about losing tonight and not really facing Baltimore again. But, the reality is, if the Bengals are to make a Super Bowl run, as we all hope they will, and if Baltimore ends up beating Pittsburgh, chances are the Bengals will need to beat the Ravens again in order to get into the Super Bowl. So, at some point, you got to – I get it. You want to play the lesser teams. You want to play teams that, are easier on paper on the schedule. But, at some point, I guess it's the former athlete and former coach in me that says, hey, bring on the best. Let us play the best and see if we can beat the best. And that's our litmus test to see where we're at. And the Bengals have, especially in the Andy Dalton era, the Bengals have been a team that beats the teams they're supposed to beat but does not beat the better teams, and especially better teams in primetime or big spotlight games. So I don't know. I get the sentiment, and I'm glad that they're not playing the Ravens this first week, but there are chances that they will need to beat the Ravens at some point if they are going to make a Super Bowl run.
Get in touch, 404-946-3397. That's the number to call if you want to get in touch. If you're outside the country as well, you can Skype us Inside the Jungle. As I'm reading the chat room right now, our very own Scott Bantel is giving us an update. Carolina leads 3-0 early on in the first playoff game of the 2015 year, 2014 season. They lead 3-0 over the Arizona Cardinals. Let's move ahead. Let's start talking about this Colts game now. Now that we've spent about 50 minutes bashing AJ Green, which whether that is fair or unfair, I think it's a lot of pent-up frustration, considering we hadn't done a show in what felt like forever. So, well, now that we know he's not going to play Sunday. We know that the Bengals now moving forward, they're going to have Mohamed Sanu as their number one receiver. We know Jeremy Hill will get a bulk of the carries. When we look back at that game earlier in the year when the Colts shut out the Bengals AC, it wasn't the team's best performance of the year. It was the last time we saw Vontaze Burfict. And defensively they were not playing very well. And offensively, we know what happened. So what's different now here, fast forward to January, what will be January 4th?
Yeah, it was a pretty pathetic showing. I think you look at that game, all three linebackers were out. I don't believe A.J. Green was playing in that game. There was just a lot of guys out of the lineup that were key figures, and I think the Bengals just kind of said, hey, I don't know, we'll give it our best shot. I don't know how well we're going to do, and you can kind of see it in their body language and how they played. They just weren't really there mentally. I think this go-round's a little different, that you have two of your starting linebackers back, and as Scott has said over the past few weeks, Ray Maluga's presence has really given a boost back to the defense, particularly in the run game. I think I was doing the 5 keys to victory. That's going to be up on the site tomorrow, I believe. Jeremy Hill had 4 carries in the game last year. That's last October. So, I mean, he's probably going to have 20 more than that on Sunday at least. So, that should keep the game close. And if he's effective, he's able to keep Andrew Luck and that offense off the field. You have a guy like Lemur back who can maybe cover those tight ends who torched him a couple of times in the last go-round. So, there are some positives. A.J. Green's loss definitely hurts. But, I mean, you look at the Denver Broncos game, and they were able to pull that out with basically A.J. Green having – I don't think he had any stats on the night. So, they're going to have to kind of put it together with duct tape and glue and Band-Aids and figure it out, and they're probably going to need to get big plays from different areas and from unexpected people in order to win this game.
Scott, the Bengals this year are 1-2-1. Throw that tie in there without AJ Green, so they've shown that they can win. They can win games. They should be 2-2 if you think about it. But I mean, I know it is a big loss, but if you're the Bengals, and then the Indianapolis Colts are sitting there thinking, well, we'll stop Jeremy Hill, we stop the Bengals, right? So if you're Hugh Jackson, how do you counteract that?
I thought they were actually 2-1-1, Nick, but either way, like you said, they're not terrible without him.
You might be right. I saw 1-2-1 on Twitter, and that's what I get for believing Twitter. You can't believe Twitter, folks.
You should go to Wikipedia instead.
Yeah, that's better.
I mean, you would hope that the game plan is run, and a side bit of run, just like you would have hoped the first time around, but for whatever reason, Hugh Jackson's game plan that first game was it was a head scratcher. I didn't understand it. The 4 carries to Hill, there was only 11 designed runs to a running back in the game as a whole. So I'm pretty confident saying that the Bengals will run the ball more than 11 times on Sunday, and with Green out, with Gresham maybe out, I think they'd be well advised to run it 30-plus times on Sunday. I was taking a look this week when talking with the Colts website. The Colts are, I think it's 2-5 when the opponent runs 25 times or more. So I'm hoping that Hugh Jackson has paid attention to that. And I hope the Bengals have looked at the history with their losses in the playoffs. Just to drop a little knowledge on you guys, the last 3 playoff losses, the Bengals' run totals have been 113, 80, and 76, and they're surrendering 180.7 yards a game in the rush. So, key to this game, the defense cannot continue to allow 180 yards rushing, and the offense has got to do better than 80-some yards rushing. So, clearly that is not a recipe for success.
And I'm just looking at this box score from Week 7. 12 total carries by this offense from 3 different runners. So that cannot happen. Now, you look back at that game, and you look back at what happened the week after. The Colts gave up 500 yards through the air to Ben Roethlisberger, who was 40 of 49 in that game. So clearly it wasn't just Hugh Jackson who saw a weakness in the secondary of the Colts, because the Steelers went to town on that Colts secondary. So take that for what you will. I just think that you cannot run the ball 12 times and expect to win, especially in the playoffs. That's a no-brainer. Let's welcome in Kurt Campbell here on the Jungle Line. Kurt, how you doing, man?
Good, Nick.
Happy New Year, buddy.
How you guys doing?
Happy New Year, man.
Happy New Year. What's your New Year's resolution, Nick?
My New Year's resolution, I didn't really have one.
Was it to host a team of host a podcast of a team that was going to the Super Bowl?
That's not really a New Year's resolution. That's a goal for every year. But yeah, that would be nice. That certainly would be nice.
Listen, I don't have a bunch of time, but I did want to come and be that super optimistic guy. Holy moly! And throw a little Stephen Reed on you guys.
Nice.
This is just a brand new season, a brand new team, and basically we know how every player on our team, how good they can be. You just can't think about all those times they haven't, and you just got to be positive about it right now. And I know that sounds cheesy, but I mean it's the best way to go into this game rather than just putting everything nitpicking everything, and it's just I don't know, a different way of looking at things. So my bold prediction is 500 yards of offense, 250 on the ground, 250 in the air. Giovanni Bernard is going to be our leading receiver of the night. He's going to have over 100 yards.
Oh man,
Andy Dalton. His completion rate is going to be 80% or higher.
Cojones. That is deserving of the cojones drop, Kurt Campbell. That is bold, man. I like it. If that happens, we're looking at a game next week.
It's got to happen. So listen, I got to get off the line. I wanted to call in and say who they won last time, and everyone will be rooting for those guys tomorrow at 1.
All right. Hey, appreciate the call, Kurt. Who day, buddy?
Who day.
That's Kurt Campbell from Asheville, North Carolina, joining us here on the program. Coming up in about 20 minutes, we'll be joined by Jeff Hobson of Bengals.com. The Bengals should have arrived in Indy about 10 minutes ago via bus, and hopefully we'll be able to catch up and get the thoughts of Mr. Hobson as the news dropped about an hour ago that A.J. Green will not play on Sunday against the Indianapolis Colts. And we could talk about how that affects the team moving forward. We know Green is a huge threat, and if anything, he's a decoy for the offense if he can't be 100%. But we know that A.J. Green is a big piece. But as Kurt said, Anthony, on his call just a minute ago, he's thinking Giovanni Bernard is going to have a big day against the Colts, and that would be refreshing to see as well, because the last time Bernard played, he was the, as I'm giving the air quotes, quote unquote, feature back, but he only had 7 carries for 17 yards.
Right, and the ironic thing is when the Bengals made that shift over to say, hey, Jeremy Hill, you're going to be our feature back. Gio, you're still going to get your touches, but you're going to take a back seat to Hill. Giovanni Bernard has put together a couple of really high-quality games. He's done some great things in the passing game. He had a really awesome touchdown last week against the Steelers, highlight reel type of thing. I think you got to use those guys. I mean, that's what you draft. You spent two second-round picks on those guys, and this is the type of scenario and this is the type of game that you want to use those guys. Injuries are piling up at wide receiver. It's a road game, so you want to run the ball well. It's late in the season, so I think you got to ride both those guys and use them to their respective strengths.
All right. Scott has no thoughts on that, and that's fine.
No,
We've,
it must have cut out. I didn't hear. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
No, one thing that I'd like to see this Sunday, and I'd like to get Jeff's thoughts on this. And we've talked about it a bunch on the podcast here. Is with the Bengals not having a slot receiver, and given the injuries they've had at wide receiver, I'm surprised they haven't used Bernard Moore in the slot. And I wonder with Green out on Sunday and possibly Gresham, will we see that? Will we see Green in the slot a little bit more? Because I think they're going to need it. I'm not completely comfortable with Sanu being our sole threat in the passing game. So I would like to get Jeff's thoughts on that later today.
The last time the Bengals played, Ahmad Bradshaw had played very well, and the Bengals. Let's face it, the Bengals defense at that time, they were missing a lot of important players as well. I believe Mal Luga had been injured. We know Burfict was still iffy, and in fact, his hit against Luck, I think, ended his season. And so yeah, I mean, this defense is playing much differently than the way they did just back in Week 7 against this Colts team. And now the Colts are missing some key players as well. We know Bradshaw's out for the year. Reggie Wayne he's probable with a groin. We know that they've got a couple of offensive linemen that are doubtful. So they're just as banged up as well heading into this matchup against the Bengals. Let's welcome in our good pal, Mr. Fatal Content on the Skype line. Fatal, how you doing, man? Happy New Year.
Hey, Happy New Year, guys. Good to hear from you guys. Good to call the show. And how's everything going?
A lot of positive thoughts. A lot of early AJ Green bashing, but we've gotten over it. We've had our chance to vent, and now we're positive. We're looking forward to Sunday's game against the Colts.
That's right, man. Leave AJ alone, guys. I know he made some mistakes, man. You know what? I'm gonna get on him. He needs to correct them. But if anyone deserves somewhat of a pass, it's AJ, man. This guy's put up some monstrous historic numbers, but yeah, he does need to clean a few things up. I actually saw that he was downgraded to out in that game. I was wondering if you guys can verify that.
He is out. He will not play against the Colts.
Crap, man. What is it about the freaking Colts that we just can't have AJ playing in the game? At least we'll have Maluga and Lemur this time, right?
That's true. We're going to be healthier. That's, I guess, a relative term. We will be healthier on defense. Against the Colts defense, it's not playing all that, or Colts offense is not playing all that great. And Andrew Luck has been prone to the turnover bug himself this year, and so yeah. And we just watched this team force some turnovers against the Steelers. They made Peyton Manning throw 4 picks. So there's no reason that the defense can't step up and be a massive key for this team.
Yeah, exactly. They've beaten some quality teams without AJ, or at least without AJ early in games. I'm a little worried because if the Colts load up on the run, I wonder what we're gonna do. I guess some bright spots. Me being an optimist is that I think that Sanu steps up for some reason when AJ is completely gone. That's what it takes for him to step up. And I think that even if they load up the box, I think that their personnel is made to be pushed around by this Bengals personnel, even if they put everyone up. I just hope that we take a couple of deep shots at least. Maybe your boy Tate steps up.
I was just about to say, don't forget about Brandon Tate, man.
Yeah, and I'm a little worried about Gresham. I would like it if we had him, but you know what, man? I asked a question earlier this week, and I was wondering if you guys can reiterate on it. I was wondering where the hell Greg Little was.
Good question. That's a great. I wish I knew that answer. We'll have to ask Jeff Hobson that here in a couple minutes when he joins us. But yeah, this is a good opportunity for him to step up and make some plays. He's not the first receiver on the team sheet, but another name we haven't mentioned, Ryan Hewitt. He's been solid as well.
Yeah, we need to see a little more Hewitt. Also, a little bit of Kobe Hamilton. Will we see? Is he active?
He was signed to the 53-man roster this week. I don't know if he'll be in the active 46 tomorrow, but I would assume since they are seriously lacking some depth at receiver that he probably will be in that final 46. That's my guess, as AC shakes his head as well.
Yeah, that's my guy. I like him. I was kind of surprised to see him get released early on. I'd like to see him get a chance. Would have liked to have seen him get a chance earlier in a game that didn't maybe mean as much as this one. But, I mean, good signing, and, they need some depth there, so we'll see what happens.
All right, Fatal. Did you even hear any of that?
Yeah, I heard
okay.
it. I was quiet in case. I don't want to do all the talking. I was quiet in case.
He's actively checking the Twitter. I know that's what you're doing, Fatal.
Now I wanted to make sure my boy beat me up. Didn't want to get some words in there, man, because I know he had some. We were calling Mr. Greg Little hot potato. So hopefully he uses his hand to catch the ball this time.
Yeah, Fatal. I don't know if I'm that confident in Greg Little helping this team out. I'm sure he'll drop something on the way to the stadium tomorrow.
Let's hope not. Come on, let's be positive.
Hey, you know what? That's positive and that's delusional, I guess. He's good for one drop, but you know what? I hope Sanu is Mr. Hot Potato as well because he's had a little bit of the dropsies. So, you know what, man? I'm pretty confident about this game. Maybe not as confident as I should be, or maybe I wish I could be, but I'm a little confident. I just hope it doesn't go into a shootout and we don't go down like 10-zip to start because that's definitely a hole to climb out of against that offense. So. But my final score, I have it 27-17 Bengals, man, in case you guys were wondering.
Do you have a bold prediction?
Bold prediction. I guess I'll keep to the theme, man. Greg Little. Give me 82 yards receiving and a touchdown, man. That's all I need. That's my bold prediction.
I like it. I hope you're right, Fatal. I think, that's pretty bold. And then they definitely need everybody, all hands on deck now at this point, to knock off a pretty solid Colts team. Hey, appreciate the call. Hopefully we'll hear from you tomorrow after a Bengals win, bud.
Definitely, guys. Hey, one more bold prediction, man. Marcus Hunt, 2 sacks. Take it.
Hey, I like that one, too. Bring it on. That's awesome. Hey, Fatal. We'll talk to you tomorrow, bud.
Who they, man? Background King. Give me up. Good show, guys.
See you, Fatal. That's Fatal. Joining us here on the Skype line. If you want to get in touch, we've got about 10 minutes before we're joined by Jeff Hobson of Bengals.com as he's in Indy right now covering the Bengals as they are getting ready, I'm sure, to go through a final walkthrough tonight, and then they'll head to the oil can there at Lucas Oil Field Sunday as they kick off against the Colts. Should be a good one. We've talked about the Colts. They've got some banged up guys on the line as well, and they don't have the best pass blocking running backs. AC, maybe this is a chance for the front four and for this team to finally get some pressure on the quarterback.
One would hope, and I'm hopeful that I can ask Hobson about the defensive line and just the major inconsistency there and the huge drop off this year from last year in terms of sacks and pressures and all of that. While their running backs aren't necessarily great pass blockers, what they do excel in, and they, to be honest, as weird as it sounds, they're not even fantastic running backs running the football. They're great receivers, though, and that's what Andrew Luck has been using them as. Ahmad Bradshaw, who killed the Bengals last time, is now, I believe, out on IR, so they're relying heavily on Trent Richardson and former Bengal Boone Herron. In that respect. But, yeah, you're right. They're not great pass blockers. They also lost their starting, I believe, left tackle, Gosder Cherilus. They put him on IR as well, so that could bode well for the Bengals. They're just going to need to not only play better than they have this year in general, but also better than they have in playoff games over the past few years. They're going to need to stop the run, and they're going to need a big game from a guy like Geno Atkins, who they didn't have last year and who struggled this year, basically. So Geno Atkins is the key to that defensive line, I think. As he goes, the rest of the line goes. So, if he can make something happen, I think that's going to be key for the Bengals defense.
I think the name to watch out for tomorrow, I think Brandon Thompson's going to have a big game because I think they're going to focus a lot on Geno Atkins and Carlos Dunlap, and a guy like Brandon Thompson, who we've seen, get into the backfield and cause some havoc, Scott. A couple of other names to throw out there as far as the injuries go. I know we mentioned Reggie Wayne's got a groin issue. He's probable. T.Y. Hilton's not 100% either. And so, you take away their two main receiving threats, and then you throw in Kobe Fleener, who we know is a pretty solid tight end as well. And then obviously the two, Luck and Fleener, have a history there at Stanford and now here in the pros. So you got to cover the tight end, which we know has been a bugaboo with this Bengals defense.
Yeah, and as far as the offensive line goes, I was talking with Josh Wilson over at Stampede Blue this week, and Anthony, it's their right tackle that's out. I don't recall his name. You had his name there, but they're
Chairless,
also,
yeah.
Joster Chairless, what a name.
And they're also going to be missing two other linemen, and they're starting their 11th line combination of the year. So they've been pretty decimated on the offensive line with injuries. Like you mentioned, their backs are not great pass blocking backs. Josh was saying that one of the biggest losses with Bradshaw's injury was his pass blocking. He was a great pass blocker. He was also leading the NFL in terms of receiving touchdowns for running backs at the time of his injury. He had 6 receiving touchdowns. So, against the Bengals last time, he had 88 yards total offense and 2 of the touchdowns. So he was a big part of that game. So, I know this defense hasn't gotten to the quarterback much, but if they're going to be able to get to the quarterback, this is the perfect line to be able to get to him. This is not a good line, and they should be able to get some pressure on Luck.
Now the question, AC, is whether or not they'll get pressure via the blitz or by just only rushing the front four, which we saw them do quite a bit against the Steelers and couldn't get to Roethlisberger. We saw them blitz early on in the year, and they were able to get to the quarterback, and maybe not with the sack total numbers that we were seeing the last couple of years, but they were causing the ball to come out earlier than it should have, affecting the release points and whatnot. So the blitz we saw earlier in the year, really it was effective, though they weren't getting to the quarterback as far as the sacks. But the most recent couple of weeks, we've seen the for whatever reason, I don't know if it's just because they don't have the depth that they used to have. We know Robert Geathers isn't getting any younger. We know Pecco's not getting any younger. We're not seeing that consistent front four pressure that we had in years past.
Yeah, I don't really understand. I think it's probably a combination of factors, and unfortunately, Margus Hunt is getting limited snaps, and that's something I'm going to ask Hobson about. I think he's had 13 snaps the last 2 games combined. And you sit here and you go, well, there's not a pass rush. Why not at least see what you have in the guy and see if he can make something happen more than 6 or 7 snaps, because these other guys aren't getting it done. The only guy that's been consistent this year is Carlos Dunlap. Excuse me. And now teams have gone and game planned against Dunlap to...
Well, except for the Broncos, for whatever reason, they didn't.
Right. But you saw later in the year that teams are kind of bringing an extra help over there to get Dunlap because he's been the only threat consistently. Atkins doesn't seem to be his old self at all. They're not getting anything else from the other defensive tackle spot, and Wallace Gilberry kind of comes in as a rotational guy, makes a play here and there, and that's about it. And that goes back to what I've been saying for the past couple of months now, is I'm not really totally sure what this team is great at and how they've been winning games and how they got into the playoffs. Sure, they run the ball pretty well with Hill now, but there's inconsistencies in the passing offense. There's inconsistencies in the passing defense. There's minimal pass rush. So I don't know. I kind of sit here and I still wonder, how good is this team? What are they really great at? And you look at that pass rush, which they were great at in years past, and how far they've fallen off the cliff this year, and you scratch your head a little bit.
Well, what they're great at is they're great at not giving up touchdown passes and giving up touchdowns in the red zone. They're holding teams to field goals, and that's why they're able to stay close in games and that sort of thing. So I'll ask this question. I'll pose this question to you, Scott. Can they get to Andrew Luck with just rushing 4, or are they going to need to bring the blitz?
I think they can, and the reason I say that is I think they were able to get to Manning, not so much sack him, but they were able to get pressure on him in that Monday night game. And the Cleveland game, I think, is more comparable to this game with the Colts from a standpoint of, Cleveland had a little bit of a shaky offensive line, and the Colts have a shaky offensive line, and that's being nice. So, I think as bad as the Bengals pass rush has been, I still believe that they have the advantage in this matchup because of the injuries that the Colts have. I think Dunlap should be able to get some pressure with the backup right tackle. I like what you said about Brandon Thompson. He's looked pretty solid the last few weeks, and I think he and Atkins can take advantage of what I believe is a center that's just making his second or third start of the year for the Colts. So, I think that if they can get that pressure up the middle, that's the toughest thing for a quarterback to handle, is when you push that pocket up the middle and he can't step up. So I do think their pass rush will actually be effective in this game.
I agree. I think where Carlos Dunlap's ability to get to the quarterback will be beneficial is the fact that they're going to have to put Fleener at tight end to help chip and keep Dunlap out of the backfield, which then throws off his ability to get downfield in the vertical passing game. So I think that you'll see an effect there as well. We're coming up in a couple minutes. We'll be joined by Jeff Hobson of Bengals.com. Do we have an update in the first playoff game of the year, Mr. Scott Bantel?
Commercial break, but I think it was 10-0, and the Cardinals were in a field goal range. I don't recall if they got a field goal yet or not, but I suppose I could pull up the interweb here, which...
So it's 10-0 Carolina at the moment, but Arizona moving the ball. I think I saw something about an interception here in the chat room. 10-zip early on in that game. How about the Carolina Panthers, AC? If you look at the Bengals' losses and the tie this year, they've all come against division winners.
Yeah, it's something to note, and it does lessen the sting, I guess, of those losses. Obviously the only exception is that loss to the Browns, but that Browns team was a better team than we've seen in a long time this year. Even with the quarterback situation and Josh Gordon and all that, they were playing hard for their coach. But you're right, Nick. Yeah, I mean they lost to high quality teams, but we. Feel like a broken record today, but we keep saying these things. You got to start beating these teams in order to not only be taken seriously when the postseason comes, but also breed confidence within that locker room to say, hey, we have beaten the Broncos, we have beaten the Patriots this year, we have beaten the Panthers or whoever else, and that will hopefully give them confidence in these games and say, hey, it's time to take that next step. We've beaten these teams in the regular season. Let's do it again right now.
I forgot about the Browns loss. You had to remind me. That was a bad loss.
Didn't mean to be that guy, but had to throw that in there for you.
Oh yeah, that was a bad loss. That's for sure. And hopefully, look, we know that we've seen it in years past. And by the way, the Bengals on the air. This is 40 wins for Andy Dalton in 4 years. We've never seen a stretch like this. In Cincinnati. I mean, that's pretty cool. And I know he gets a lot of flack, and I know right now he's not playing his best football, but it's a new season now. You can wipe clean this slate of 2014 and start fresh. And I remember this team at one point was 3-0. They got off to a hot start. All they got to do now is go 3-0, right? That's all I got to do. I know it's easier said than done, but 3-0.
And they went 3-0 on the road in the later portion of the season as well. So I mean, they've got it in them. Even missing some of these important guys, they definitely have it in them, and they know how to do it. But it's just putting it together at the right time and finding a way to win this game with one of your best players out of the lineup. Actually, a few of your best players out of the lineup.
Scott just gave us an update in the chat room. 10-7 Carolina leads there early on in the game. Against the Arizona Cardinals. 10-7 is your score in that first game. As we mentioned, we'll be joined. Actually, we are joined now by the one and only Jeff Hobson of Bengals.com, who's live now in Indianapolis. Jeff, thanks for joining us. Happy New Year, man.
Happy New Year. Thanks for having me on. How you guys doing?
How was the trip to Indy? I'm sure it was a long one.
It was nice. It was it was brief because I was writing on AJ Green, so it was cut here before I knew it. So, how are you guys doing the fact that AJ is going to play?
Well, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. The news broke about an hour and a half ago on the Twitter, on the social media that he is out. And I know leading up to that news this week, we kind of assumed that was going to be the case, that he wouldn't play. And he's been under the concussion protocol all week. So moving forward, we know that the big question mark will be, and it always comes back to the quarterback at some point, Jeff. But now that Andy Dalton doesn't have A.J. Green, I'm assuming that that's going to mean more and more of the workload heading towards Jeremy Hill.
I think so. I think it's I mean, I think they were going to do that even before A.J. was out. They were going to run out of the line, but now it's even more, even more emphasized. It also means that, I think Giovanni is going to be a bigger role for Giovanni Bernard out of the slot and out of the backfield. And it's going to test Hugh Jackson's creativity, of which I have no doubt that he will come up with something. But honestly, there's if you look at it half full, half empty, and I think looking at it half full, you'd say, well, they've had him and they've won 3 games without him when he didn't catch a pass. And they beat 2 pretty good teams, Denver and Baltimore, when he didn't catch a pass. So he didn't play against Baltimore, and he was hurt going up against Denver. He didn't catch a pass. So they have had A.J. Green survive against good teams.
Hey, Jeff, Scott Bantel here. Thanks for joining us. Big fan of your stuff on Bengals.com. The question that I had is, with A.J. Green being out on Sunday and the Bengals not really having a slot receiver and the other injuries they have at the receiver position, do you see the Bengals and Hugh Jackson using Giovanni Bernard more in the slot on Sunday?
Oh, yeah. And of course, remember now, Jermaine Gresham is also a question. So, I mean, they could really be in because he's a guy that you could do, because Gresham is a guy you can put in the slot too. So, hopefully he'll play. If he plays, I think you'll see him in the slot. I think you'll see Gio in the slot. Because basically you're down to, you're right, they already made slot receivers. The slot receivers, Mohamed Sanu, and plus AJ goes ahead as one of the slot players too, compared to what he had been doing. So I think it's by committee, I think they'll get Gio in there, they'll get Gresham in there, and but I don't know how much they're going to use 2 receivers. Because if they're going to run the ball as hard as I think they're going to run, it's going to be a lot of 2 receivers, a lot of 2 receiver sets, a lot of regular stuff. So I just don't know, receivers just might not, I can't see him playing that, the number 2 through 4 receivers. I just can't see him playing that big of a role, And if anything, it's going to be 2 backs, 2 tight ends, and you're throwing them out of the back.
Jeff, hey, it's Anthony Cosenza. Once again, great talking to you, and always appreciate the time you give us on the show. I'm doing well. How about yourself, sir?
That's not bad. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we always love having you on. I'm gonna switch a little bit to the defensive side of the ball. The Bengals have been borderline atrocious at pressuring the quarterback this year, and that's been their forte over the last couple of years. I kind of want to get your thoughts or insight, mainly focusing around Geno Atkins, if he's back 100% or not from that knee injury of last year. In the limited snaps they're giving Margus Hunt, I think I counted about 13 snaps in the last 2 games combined that they gave Margus Hunt. So is there a lack of faith in Hunt, and is Atkins healthy, or what are they kind of scheming up for this week in that respect?
Well, I think you're exactly right. They don't have any faith in Margus Hunt. They don't play him. To me, the biggest, there's 2 reasons why their pressure hasn't been what it has been. One of them is Geno is not Geno yet. He's coming. Yes, he's had flashes of what he was, but he's not back. Certain different guys take different lengths of time to come back from a major injury like that. You know, with Geno, it looks like it's going to be 2 years because that's what they tell you right off the bat. You know, they tell you the guy will be back to himself 1 year after the year or two. So that's one reason, and then the other reason is they just don't have the rotation. I mean, in 12 and 13, they were at their best rush in the passer. They played in waves. They played 7, 8 guys, you know, and they're not doing that now for whatever reason. You know, they get no faith in Hunt. They don't play Will Clock that much, and Devin Still's been inactive. So what you've got is you've got 5 guys taking the bulk of the snaps, you know, and I'm not sure that's how they're. I'm not sure that's how they're fit. I mean, usually, you know, Gaddis and Gilbert are at their best when they're playing maybe 28, 30, 32 snaps. These guys are playing a lot more than that, you know, and good players, solid players, you know, guys who've been pushed players down through the years, you know. I just don't know, you know, but they're at their best when they're playing less, and so. Like, those are the 2 major things. Geno isn't Geno yet, and they're not playing in waves.
Jeff, we've seen this Indianapolis Colts offense, in particular Andrew Luck, prone to turning the ball over. And this Bengals secondary the last couple of weeks has been lights out. They've been fantastic. They turned over Peyton Manning 4 times. They forced an interception of Roethlisberger. And so now they're facing a Colts offense that isn't playing its best at the moment, and they're missing some key guys on offense as well, particularly in the running game. So, are you thinking this secondary has an opportunity to have a pretty big day on Sunday?
Well, no question. You know, I think you're exactly right, Nick. Luck will throw it to you. You know, he's proven that 16 interceptions, and you know, they have 15 fumbles too. They turned it over 31 times. So, you know, I mean, the odds are with them that something's going to happen. Turnover. And they have to make it happen. And, you know, you're right, they're nicked up enough in the running game that I don't think they really rely on it. I think they're only averaging 23 attempts, you know, in the last. So they just don't come to you know what I mean? They just don't run the ball. And they don't try to run it. I don't think they want to run it. So, you know, the Bengals are already got them in one dimension now. And they've got to get that pressure. However, you know, I thought they pressured Peyton Manning really well. And the Broncos protect the passer better than, you know, I think they've got an opportunity to get to work. Certainly, teams have been doing that, and now this is going to be 11th different. This is going to be 11th different starting offensive line. Now that the right tackle is down, we know the right tackle has only played 1 game in right tackle, and they've only got career backup guy. So, you know, Geno's got to make hay, and Dunlap has to make hay, and I think they, you know, remember in the last game, early on, Leon Hall dropped a pick 6 at the Colts, at the Bengals 4-yard line. I mean, that's a 14-point play, you know, because they ended up scoring a touchdown, and Leon had 6. If you can just get a little over eager there, so. Yeah, I think they're going to get there. I think they have some opportunities to make some plays.
Hey, Jeff, Scott again. Question with Mohamed Sanu. You know, in the first 8 games, he looked really strong. You know, 39 receptions, 4 touchdowns, 628 yards. In these last 8 games, he has not been targeted much and only has 17 receptions, 162 yards, and 1 touchdown. Is it a matter of, I know he's had some problems with drops. Is there a lack of trust between Dalton and Sanu, or what do you see as the reason that Sanu has kind of disappeared the last half of the season?
I don't know if there's a lack of trust, but, you know, Andy, he likes to get it to AJ. And he's been criticized for forcing the thing to AJ. So I think that's a reason. You know, I think he certainly trusts Sanu. I mean, you know, go back and look at all 3 road games that they won, New Orleans, Houston, and Tampa. All had huge third-down catches, great third-down catches. So I don't think it's a lack of trust, but, I mean, you know, he does try to jam it into AJ. Because I thought, if you go back and look at the Cleveland game, I thought Mo was open. You know, remember he was trying to jam it deep to AJ all game with Cleveland, and I think he had Mo underneath. So, you know, but I don't think it's a lack of trust. I think the other thing, too, is, you know, Mo's adjusting, too. I think, Hogan never played as many snaps. He's a slot guy. He's a green receiver. And, he's played twice as many snaps he's ever played in his life. He's like the offensive version of Vinny Ray, So I'm sure, he's got to be tired, as an adjustment, So, I think it's, he's playing a huge role for his squad, right? You can make an argument he was the first half MVP, But I think, he's had to adjust to that, to playing a lot, and we're deep into the season now. So those were a couple of reasons. I think he's been, he's had some drops. He's tried to examine into AJ, and I think he's adjusting to the how many snaps he's been playing.
Jeff, I'm curious about the Bengals' level of concern with their secondary group, namely the corners. There's been some up and down play and some injuries to Terrence Newman. Leon Hall's fought his way back from an injury last year, and he's kind of had some up and downs as well. Dre Kirkpatrick had an outstanding game against Denver, but then struggled last week. I guess going forward in the playoffs, they're going to be facing some explosive wide receivers potentially. T.Y. Hilton being one this week. So, what's kind of the expectation of the team? Are they going to rely on that veteran savviness? Are they going to maybe lean on those younger guys and their athleticism and speed a little bit more in the postseason?
I think for the most part, the corners have played pretty well. There's been absolutely no pass rush, and they have the third best defensive rating in the league. They've allowed the third fewest touchdown passes. I think they're in the top 10 when it comes to completion, limiting completion percentage and yards per attempt. I think overall they've been pretty good. They've been beat on some players, but I think it's been pretty solid. T.Y. Hilton, their number one Leon. They're going to have to give him help, I think, this week. And Dre had one bad play against Pittsburgh. And some people will tell you that he had pretty good coverage. That he was exactly where he should have been, looking for that back shoulder throw for Ben. And instead, Ben put it right out there on a hell of a play. But that's the life of a corner, So I think overall they've been pretty, I think they've been pretty solid. They've been beaten at times by some speedy guys. Go back to Pittsburgh when Leon got run by Bryant, but that was more or less a case of where he was expecting to run all the way, but more of a technique thing and not really a speed thing. But I think the corners are a strength of their team. They'll have Newman back, and I think that will help. He's struggled. Terrence has struggled at times, but he's also, first half of the year he was playing really good. He's had a couple games late where he struggled, but compared to what, you look at some of these teams around the league with what they're playing with the corner. Look what the Steelers did with the two kids virtually off the street. They did a hell of a job on aging. So, I think they have five solid guys. I think that's their strength. I think to me the question is if they can get pressure, they'll really help them because I think they're playing pretty well. Even though I think they're ranked last in sacks to pass. I think the secondary's played pretty well.
Hey Jeff, with the three losses the past 3 years, we all know that Dalton's got a ton of the blame for that. Some maybe deserve, some maybe not. But the thing that I've noticed is the Bengals entered those games with some very good defenses, and their run defense really let them down, giving up an average of 180 plus the last three playoff losses. Have you seen anything, or what do you see as the reason why the defense has struggled in these playoff games?
That's a great point. They were good defenses that came in there and got the punt. We're talking about the touch that Zimmer had to offer. You can even go back to 2009, that four-time defense, and how the Jets chewed them up at home. I think if you look at one of those games, I think that 2009 game, Pat Sims was a very underrated player here. It's been a problem, and I don't know. Nobody ever really took their finger on it because it just kind of came out of nowhere. Those games, They did so well against. They played so well against. So the only thing I can think about it was not a great day for complimentary football because when the offense is lousy, the defense is going to get more chances. I mean, the other offense is going to get more chances to play their game and run the ball, and run the ball, and that's what happened. I think in all 3 games, was the other team had a better grasp of the formula, and they kept running the ball when they had a chance. And the more the Bengals were on the field, and I think this is true with any decent running game, the more the defense on the field, it's hard to stop. If you're going to make your mind to run the ball, and you're just good, you're not going to get it stopped. And I think that's what happened to the Bengals. They couldn't get first downs. They couldn't establish a running game in a row, and they got pounded on the other side of the ball. And, I think that's one part. I think that's a big part of going to play complementary football. You've got to be committed on the offensive side to run the ball. And it's just they just didn't get run on in those playoff games. So I think they had an awful lot of attempts. I want to say Diego had close to 40 attempts. Rivers only 16 times. I mean, it's a lot of it has to do with just pounding it in there, and to get a decent pack, and if you convert first downs, you're going to do some damage in the run game. And meanwhile, the Bengals were trying to throw it and get down on their own way offensively. So I think a lot of that, I think that has a lot to do with it. Offense kind of played into the hands of the other team's offense.
So it's time for the.
He just played lousy. That's the other thing.
It's time for the $1 million question, Jeff, I guess. You've got a limited pass rush, multiple injuries at some key spots, minus some Pro Bowl players, I guess, going into this Sunday. So what makes this Sunday potentially different for the Bengals than any other playoff appearances they've had under Marvin Lewis, in the last 12 years? What gets them over the hump, and how do they do it this week?
Fairly Hill and Shavai Denard. And I think the special teams. Here's the roadmap to victory here tomorrow. You make one turn it over like he's told to do. You get 10 points off of that. You get 10 points off your special teams if they've done. You get a big punt return from Adam Jones. You get good field position. Field position translates to 10 points. 7 to 10 points. Now you're at 20. Now you got Hill and Bernard grinding it, keeping it away from luck. They keep it 36 minutes. They rush it for 189 yards. This is a Colts defense that when they give up more than 30 rushes, they're 2-4. And the 2 games they won, they barely won against Tennessee. So that's the roadmap. Keep it for 36 minutes. You rush it 40 times. You get a couple turnovers that they're prone to do. You get 10 points off of that. You get 10 points from teams. You get 7 to 10 points from your offense that's grinding it out. 27-20. You win.
I like it, Jeff. Best of luck tomorrow. I know you'll be covering it for Bengals.com. You always do a fantastic job. We certainly appreciate you taking some time with us. We know you just got into Indy, and we'll be talking to you here in the near future, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me on, fellas. Always a pleasure talking to you guys. You guys do a great job, and I look forward to joining you in the off season. Can't wait to talk about the draft, but I hope it's in the middle of February.
Well, I hope that we're talking to you about a Super Bowl appearance, Jeff Hobson.
Absolutely.
Have a good one. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Jeff.
That's Jeff Hobson from Bengals.com. Appreciate him taking the time to join us here on Inside the Jungle for our special Webgate edition. He does a great job, and big fan of his. Glad he joined us here on the program. I think it's time now that we get into what is one of my favorite segments of the show.
Hey, ladies, quit your babbling, because now's the time in the show when all the boys pull out their cojones and make bold predictions.
Now, we just heard Mr. Hobson say 27-20 Bengals win, so I'll start off. Mr. Scott Bantel, give me your bold prediction. But before you give me your bold prediction, Scott, I want everybody here in the chat room to to put in your bold predictions as well. Hashtag bold predictions. And you can always tweet them to me as well at Nick Suberling on the Twitter. So go ahead, Scott. Give me your bold prediction for Sunday.
My bold prediction is going to surround what I think is going to be one of the keys to the game, and that's turnovers. As we know, the last 3 losses, Andy Dalton has had problems protecting the ball. That's going to be key on Sunday. So I am going to say that Andy Dalton will have 0 turnovers on Sunday, and that will bode well for our beloved Cincinnati Bengals.
Cojones.
That's a bold prediction, Scott, because we've seen what's happened in the last 3 years. I hope you're right. That would bode well for the Bengals. How about you, AC? Give me your bold prediction for this week.
You sure you don't want to go first, bud? I don't want to.
Nah, go for it, man. You are the man.
Oh boy, I'm gonna say Brandon Tate has an absolutely huge day. I'm gonna say 200 all-purpose yards between receiving, punt returns, and kickoff returns, and 2 touchdowns.
Worthy of a drop. And not a drop pass. I mean an audio drop. That's awesome. I like that one. Rich Norton here in the chat room. His bold prediction: Greg Little 2 touchdowns. So he's thinking that the drop man. Maybe it was right on time saying the drop. I like that though. I think Brandon Tate would be that would be awesome. I would be eating a lot of crow if that did happen.
If that happens, we need Tate on the show to talk to you.
We might have to make that happen if he goes off. That would be a good one. My bold prediction, and I don't know if this is necessarily that bold of a prediction, but because we've seen him do quite well the last few weeks, but I'm going to go Jeremy Hill goes for over 200 in this game. I think he sets a Bengals playoff record for rushing yards. That's my bold prediction. And I think he's gonna have to carry the team because we know if I'm Hugh Jackson, I'm taking the ball out of Dalton's hand. And if anything, I'm throwing dump passes, screen passes, and so yeah, I'm going with that one. I think he breaks a rookie rushing playoff or just a rushing playoff record for the Cincinnati Bengals. Kirk Campbell in the chat room, as we heard him earlier on the phone say he thinks they get 500 yards of offense. 250 rushing, 250 passing for Dalton, no picks, and 80% completion percentage. And he thinks Bernard will have 100 yards receiving. That's a solid, bold prediction as well. Give me a score prediction, AC.
I'll say 30-21 Colts. I think the Bengals are missing too many guys. It's on the road. It'll be a better game than it was a couple months ago, but it's gonna take them doing some different things, as Jeff Hobson said, and I don't know if they can kind of pull the rabbit out of the hat, so to speak, with all the special teams returns and turnovers that they'll probably need to win this game.
So AC's picking against the Bengals, which I cannot fault you for that.
Hey, fool me once, what's the saying? Fool me once, fool me twice. I don't even know what the 4th time is, but
yeah,
gotta prove me wrong.
I can't fault you there. I'm looking at some of these other Bill Nichols in the chat room. He says 6 receivers with more than 1 pass caught, so he thinks Dalton's going to spread it around. And Kurt replies with, "That's impossible, Bill. There's only 4 receivers on the roster." Bravo, Kurt Campbell. Bravo. How about you, Scott? Give me a score prediction for Sunday.
I'm going to go with the same one I had last week. I think the Bengals end their drought, and I say 24-20 Bengals.
So you're going okay. So 24-20. You're picking for the Bengals.
Yes.
I like that one. I was thinking today before the show started how I wanted to go with this pick, and part of me, to be honest, the last 2 years I've been in Vegas this weekend for what was normally New Media Expo. For the wild card weekend. So every year I've been in Vegas. Well, I shouldn't say every year. The last 2 years I've been in Vegas and watching it from my hotel room. So this year I'm changing it up because I'm not in Vegas. I'm here. So maybe I'm thinking, oh, that could change the fortunes for our luck. And I was actually tempted to pick against the Bengals as well because I've always picked them to win. Just kind of some reverse psychology going. We need whatever we can, but I can't do it, guys. I'm uber positive when it comes to this team. I think they get off the schneid. This is the year that they end the playoff jinx. I think they knock off the Colts. I think it's going to be a close game. I think they win by a field goal, and I'll go 24-21. Bengals win. I think they do it. That's my score prediction.
Did you just Price's Right one up me, Nick?
I might have, yeah. I'm going with the field goal scoreline.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, I did one up you. Sorry, Scott.
That's dirty.
That is dirty. So yeah, I'm going 24-21. Bengals and the jinx. And so yeah, it'll be nice. It'll be the first playoff win, hopefully, for the Bengals. Rich Norton says 14-9 Bengals here in the chat room. He's going for a low-scoring affair. But it will be the first time a Bengals team has won a playoff game since 1990, if my math is correct.
Well, 90 season, 91 was when the game was played, yeah.
Kurt Campbell says 27-24 Bengals. Rich Norton also says Greg Little for MVP. That would be a big storyline, that is for sure. Yeah, so again, special thanks to everybody who tuned in live today for our special Webgate. We'll get to our shout-outs here in a minute. I also wanted to send a big thank you as well to the one and only Jeff Hobson for coming on the program. He does a great job, as always, at Bengals.com. Let's see here. Chase Elite, 27-13 Bengals win. So he's on the Bengals bandwagon as well. And that's no slouch to you, AC. I certainly get it. You're going for the reverse psychology route.
Yeah, and it's going to be part of my shout-outs, but I'm actually, unfortunately, going to be involved in a family event tomorrow during the game. So I may not be able to get to watch a chunk of that game. So that may be a good thing. That may be a bad thing. I don't know. But yeah, I know. Yeah, it wasn't planned very well. But I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, I mean, we're going on now. What the sixth appearance in Marvin Lewis here under Marvin Lewis. At some point, you gotta just get it done. I mean, it's unbelievable what they've done in the playoffs. What they haven't done in the playoffs, I guess I should say. And I hope this is the Sunday, but they've just disappointed so many times recently that I can't really get on board until they show me otherwise.
Like I said, I can't fault you. I certainly can't. You mentioned shout-outs. Why don't we get to those? Shout-outs! Start us off, AC, since you'll be very busy on Sunday.
Yeah, I'll go Jeff Hobson, obviously. I think we'll probably all agree with that one. Guy's awesome, and he treats us very well. Obviously a very busy weekend for him, and he carved time out to be with us. That was awesome. I'm going to give a shout-out also to Amos. I don't know if I've shouted him out. If I have, it's been a long time, and I noticed he went toe-to-toe in the comment section of some articles with another commenter on Cincy Jungle named Mismanagement. And Amos, when you go toe-to-toe with Mismanagement, just know that I'm always on your side, buddy. Mismanagement is a difficult human being. So that being said, I'm also going to give a shout-out to, as weird as it sounds, my Aunt Betty, because it's her 90th birthday, and that's what we are celebrating tomorrow.
Aunt Betty, happy birthday.
Yeah, so can't really miss that one, unfortunately. Well, fortunately and unfortunately. Well, obviously want to be with her, but she's my great aunt, but she's like a grandmother to me, and it's her birthday. I'll try and watch the game as I can, but going to be with her for a chunk of the day tomorrow.
Solid shout-out and happy birthday to Aunt Betty, the big 9-0. I like it, AC. Before we get to you, Scott, I'm going to read some more of these predictions. Tom Brooks says Bengals win 17-10. Brent Stoll's on your side, AC. He thinks the Colts win 24-16. And Mike Smith across the pond. A sad day for this Liverpool fan. He says the Bengals shut out the Colts on Sunday. And he says that revenge is the best motivator. That's a good one. All right. How about you, Scott? Give me a shout-out for this week.
Well, I was going to double up one on AC with Jeff Hobson. Not that Jeff needs our shout-outs, but a big appreciation to him joining the show. He's awesome. The second shout-out, I did not know that Amos went toe-to-toe with Mismanagement, but shout out to Amos for that.
He also
Miami,
went toe-to-toe with Chili Dog in my
wow.
in my post yesterday.
Double shout out then. My other shout out is Fatal. Fatal and I went back and forth on Twitter this week. Fatal is a great follow if you don't follow him on Twitter. Fatal and I don't always agree, but you know, when Fatal brings a point, it's well researched, and you know, he brings strong points. So shout out to Fatal. I always enjoy the back and forth with him.
Yeah, Fatal, we know he's a big fan of the show, big supporter of the show. Appreciate all that he does for us, and you can give him a follow at Fatal Content on the Twitter. Good shout out, Scott. Yeah, I'm going to give a shout out to Amos as well for coining the term webgating. And here we are today. We're celebrating the playoffs in style with a Webgate, a special edition of the podcast here on a Saturday afternoon. We were hoping to be joined by the one and only Mickey Menser, but we couldn't make that happen this week. Hopefully we'll be able to catch up on Wednesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern. I'm also going to give a shout out to Bill Steinow. He's the newest Patreon patron and supporter of the show. Big kudos and a thanks to Bill for his support of this podcast. If you want to support Inside the Jungle on our Patreon account, you certainly can over at spnt.tv/Patreon, or if you want, that's patreon.com/Nick Superling. Either one will work. We've got some cool new shirts available for sale, and hopefully I'm going to be working with AC here in a couple days to get some more merch, particularly those cool trucker hats that are of we have the ability to sell them legally rather than illegally, like we tried to do before. So yeah, if you want to support the show, if you want some new Inside the Jungle swag, you can check it out insidethejunglepodcast.com/t-shirts, and you can get some cool new shirts with our new logo on it. That it all goes to help support the podcast, and we appreciate all your support this year. Final thoughts as we wrap up this special Webgate edition, AC.
This is maybe the longest I've been on a show with you, Nick, aside from draft night. And I hope, and I hope we do draft night again. That was actually really fun. So I hope we do that again. But that's hopefully way down the road in terms of planning, so that we can continue to talk about the Bengals in the playoffs. You know, I hate to be that guy that always picks against, well, not always, but I hate to be the guy that picks against the Bengals, especially in a game like this. I do think it's winnable. I think they're just going to have to put it together in just a very creative way, and it's going to come down to what they do with Andrew Luck. If they're able to pressure him, sack him, and create turnovers, I think that plays well into the Bengals' hands. If they let him have all day and sit back there and kind of pick apart the defense, that's going to be pretty ugly. So I hope they can do it. A lot of fans have been waiting a long time for that big playoff win, and I think there's a lot of good guys in this Bengals locker room that deserve a big win like that. So I hope they can do it.
I hope they do too. Appreciate all that you do for the show, AC. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, and thanks for setting it up. And I apologize if I stole some thunder from you today.
Don't. See, this is all inside information that you don't normally get here on this program. But yeah, I appreciate you joining us this week. And I know Mickey is actually heading to the game tomorrow. So is Scott. Scott's got a ticket. He'll be in Indy to watch the game live. Hope you bring some earbuds or something so that you don't lose your hearing.
Yeah, pretty excited to see Lucas Oil Stadium. I've heard some good things about this stadium. Got some good tickets. Better yet, free tickets. So I'll be on the Bengals side of the field. I don't know how close, but I'm in the lower section around the 45-yard line. So that will be pretty awesome. Hopefully in attendance for the Bengals ending the playoff drought. So, looking forward to the trip to Indy and hopefully bringing home a winner, Nick.
You might be the good luck charm if with you going. And you know what? There was a couple years ago when we first started this podcast. I think it was back in 2011. It was our second year of the show. And you all remember Tim Bates. For whatever reason, he would pick against the Bengals every week, and they would keep winning. And so we made him. It was like a rule that he had to pick against the Bengals every week. And so if the Bengals win tomorrow, AC, you have to pick against them the rest of this postseason.
I mean, if that's what it takes, I'm happy to do it. But I honestly, it's such a bummer. I think I'm with a lot of other Bengal fans in saying that a fourth time in this specific era of going one and done is just it'd be very disheartening. And if they were able to pull this win out with all of the injuries and other issues going on with this team, I think it'd be one of the better wins that this team would have in its franchise's history.
Well, the streak ends tomorrow. That's my bold prediction. And I know it'll be a fun one. I'll be watching it. I'll be able to do a post-game show finally. It feels like forever since we've done one. I even had a Steelers troll comment on my Steelers post-game show from earlier in the year, calling me a crybaby for not doing a post-game show after our loss Sunday night. You know, unlike him, I have a job. Just kidding. No, I'm only kidding. But yes, I will be live immediately following tomorrow's game right here at cincyjungle.com. So make sure you join me and get your thoughts in. Hopefully we're celebrating a Bengals win tomorrow afternoon. And, of course, we'll be live. We'll be back on our regular scheduled programming here on Wednesday night at 8 o'clock right here at cincyjungle.com for our Wednesday night roundtable where hopefully we'll be joined by Mickey Menser. I guess I'll have to check the schedule. When does Ohio State play? They play, I think, after that, so it doesn't matter. That's probably where he's at right now. He's all celebrating their big win over Alabama the other night. All right. Did we get everything? Did we cover everything? I think it's time for us to go. We've been on the air long enough. Gentlemen, thanks for taking the time here on Saturday afternoon. Go watch some playoff football. For those of you here in the chat room, we appreciate you stopping by. Appreciate everybody calling in as well. You've all been fantastic, and this show's it's a lot of fun. So yes, the first episode of 2015 is in the can. Episode 1, I believe it's 178. Thanks everybody again for tuning in live. Go out, subscribe to the podcast, leave your iTunes review, all that and much more. It's been fun. Enjoy the playoffs. Talk to you on Sunday. Inside the Jungle is an FTNT production. For more information about our other podcasts, log on to FTNT.tv. And for all the latest Bengals updates, all the injury news, everything, check us out at cincyjungle.com. AC, Scott, Josh, Kirkendall, everybody. They're furiously riding. Go check them out. They do a great job. Bracy, Mickey, Scott, I'm Subs. Hey, the Bengals are going to win a playoff game. Hopefully. Hooday, everybody.
Hooday.
Hooday!
All right.
Nick, look at this baby.
That's right.
Yeah.
We have we are the only ones with this shirt. That's the only one. You'll notice on the bottom I actually used the word Bengals on it.
The logo's sick. I like that a lot.
I will pass it along to my wife. She did a great job.
It's rad.
So tell me about this this cease and desist letter and this trucker hats.
All right. So there you go. Here's my document from the NFL, as you can see, in a very nice paper. Apparently the word Hooday is a trademark of the NFL. And I had put it on some drinking glasses, beer glasses, and was putting it on Patreon as a reward. And AC had made some trucker hats, and we offered that as a reward as well. And then the NFL came calling on April 1st of all days.
It's a shame I don't still work at my old job. I'd look that up as far as the patent goes, or the trademark goes.
See April 1st on the day.
Mickey has some experience with that, didn't he?
We should just respell it Hooday, D-A-Y.
Well, I put a dash in it, thinking that would be fine, but whatever.
That probably is how they have it trademarked. I don't know, but
no, there's no dash in the trademark.
So Nick, I noticed. Okay, the last couple of years you really pumped up the promotion of vote for the podcast in the podcast awards. So
I'm glad you brought that up. Well, the podcast awards normally were at New Media Expo. Okay. But this year, New Media Expo has been pushed back to April during NAB, which is the National Association of Broadcasters conference out in Vegas.
And that's when it's going to be?
Yeah, it'll be in April. And I'm actually speaking this year at New Media Expo. I'm on a panel and I'll be talking about podcasting at the expo this year. So I'm pretty pumped.
No way! It's in Vegas, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and go, dude. When is it? In April?
April 16th through. I'll have to double check the dates. It's the week.
Okay.
I know it's the weekend of the week of the whenever the taxes are due. So yeah, I'm actually heading out there in April, and so yeah, I'm pretty pumped about that. And so the podcast awards, they're going to be starting here. I checked the website last night to see because I thought they were going to start the nominations in January, but they have not kicked it off yet. So we'll promote that once that gets going.
That's awesome. It's been tough for me to get there. Number one, because the Bengals have been in the playoffs. So I got to do stuff for the site and all that kind of stuff. But I'm going to Vegas in March for a friend of mine's bachelor party, and then and then April I think I'm good, dude. So I'll try and get there, dude.
Let me pull up. I'm looking at a calendar now.
Oh, we should have promoted. Oh, well, we could promote it next week. We're going to Cody, Mickey, and I are going to that NFLPA Bowl again.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah. Mickey got us hooked up with some credentials for the
cool.
deal. Yeah, and that's
that, Anthony?
I think it's 2 weeks from this weekend. So I think it's like the 17th or whatever that is. 16th, 17th.
17th, yeah.
It's in LA, so. We'll have to promote that on the site too. I forgot about that.
So the conference is April 13th through the 16th.
Okay.
And I'm actually planning on in April taking off the whole week and flying back on the 20th of April because after the expo I'm going to head up to San Francisco and head up to the Twit Studios, This Week in Tech. They're a massive podcast organization, and they have a massive studio in Petaluma. And yeah. I'm gonna head up there and visit the studio. Hopefully, I'm trying to get my wife to come with me.
It's California, bro. You're gonna like it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be a good vacation for both of us. We haven't had a vacation since our honeymoon, so.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Overdue.
Very, very much overdue, and hopefully I can con her into coming with me. So we'll see.
If you need a place to stay in SoCal, dude, you can crash in my pad.
What's the drive? I imagine it's probably not an easy drive from Vegas to San Fran, right? It's probably pretty far.
I've never done that, so I don't know. I know from where I live to Vegas if you don't hit traffic, it's about 4 hours one way, so it's not bad.
Not bad.
I think because you're going kind of northeast from where I live to go to Vegas, I think then you would go northwest, obviously from there to go to San Francisco. I know from where I live, San Francisco without traffic is probably a 7-hour drive. Yeah, so I would say maybe plan on 4 or 5 hours from Vegas to San Francisco if you drive.
Okay.
Here, let me. I can look that up.
That's the other thing too. Like I'd have to rent a car, and
you might be better to fly. To be honest with you, there's so many flights out of Vegas. But I mean that's totally up to you. I don't.
What were you going to say, Scott? By the way, nice banner behind you.
Oh, thank you. No, I was just going to... We drove from San Francisco to L.A. a few years back, and I would say it was probably like 5-6 hours. We didn't go down the coastline, Anthony. We went. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
It's like through the middle of nowhere.
It's a quicker way. Yeah. The coast. If you take PCH, that's a very pretty drive, but it adds about 2 hours to your drive.
Yeah, we had to like start filling up when our gas tank was like half empty because we would literally go like 2 hours without seeing a gas station.
Yeah. Shoot, why isn't this coming up here?
Chase in the chat room says, I'm really upset about the NFL and this Who Day stuff. Yes. Yeah, when I got this cease and desist, I'm not even kidding. I lost my job on the 31st, and then the next day I got the cease and desist. So I was like double gut punch, like, oh. So I was like in a funk for like three weeks, and I think it worked out. I think Inside the Jungle's I like it better. I do
like it. We haven't lost momentum. I think we've only gained it. So,
hey, Nick, if we're big enough that the NFL sends us cease and desist letters, then that's
right. That's another thing too, and I kept telling myself that, like, wow, the NFL took notice of what we were doing. That is pretty cool.
Oh, Nick. Oh boy. So Vegas to San Fran, that shows about 9-hour drive.
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually didn't think it was that long, but
that's all right.
Yeah.
Nobody even commented on my playoff beard. I'm shocked.
I was noticing that, looking good. I was so upset. I forgot we had scheduled family pictures for this morning, and I had a good playoff beard going.
Oh yeah, that had to go, huh?
Well,
family pictures, Scott. Oh Lord.
I tried to negotiate it into the pictures, and she thought about it for a little bit and ended up losing.
Yeah.
So my playoff beard went this morning. It's upsetting. It was looking good. I mean, it wasn't quite Miss Mickey-esque, but it was solid.
My favorite part about this playoff beard is that my kids like to point out the white spots. Like, you can kind of see it right in this region here. Yeah, there's some white in there.
Did you tell them that's experience?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you guys are funny. Hey, you know what? At least I have hair.
That's true, yeah. Nick, I still think we need to get you doing the Monday show after the Bengals games, because the Bengals official Monday show with Chick Ludwig is brutal.
Yeah.
It's beyond brutal, actually. Have you ever listened to
it? You never know. Maybe this will lead to something.
We need to talk to Jeff and see what kind of pool he's got. Say, hey, we need Nick on the Monday show.
I talked to Dan Horde this week.
I'll take some PTO on Mondays to join you.
No. Okay. All right. All right. Yeah. I talked to Dan Horde on Friday about coming on today, but he was swamped. He had a UC game to call at 11 today, and then he had I don't know if he bussed with the team or not. But yeah, he was going to come on, and then it didn't work out. But he said he would come on later on in the postseason. So
sweet.
We'll get him back on. I tweeted out. I don't know if you saw that. I tweeted out the fact that Dan Horde is 4 for 4 ever since he joined the broadcast booth with playoff appearances. So
nice.
And he's the good luck charm. Then Joe Reedy had to ruin it. He tweeted out, "Yeah, but how many playoff wins?" I'm like, what a douche.
I've got a lot to say there, but I think I'm gonna.
Yeah, Joe Reedy.
I think Joe Reedy is mismanagement.
Yeah, it could be.
I'm starting to be convinced, dude. He's freaking mismanagement. Nick, have you? I know you don't spend as much. I know you don't spend as much time on the site maybe as we do, but have you seen that guy, dude?
Yes, I have.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
intelligent guy. He talks to people like just utter garbage. That's the only reason I respond, because it's like, dude, you talk to people like crap here. It's kind of annoying.
I'm surprised that he's still around.
He's the yeah but guy.
Yeah.
You know, everything's yeah but.
Like who was the guy in the chat room last week?
Oh God. Scott would know. Scott was.
Yeah, we were like, I was distracting me because I was like reading that. I'm going, what? And I'm trying to do the show, and I could tell Scott was getting flustered by that guy as well, and yeah.
Yeah, Scott was like not paying attention to the show because he was so into arguing with that guy. Scott, what was that guy's name last week in the chat room?
I can't believe he wasn't back this week to bash Dalton. Steve. Yeah, I swear to God, I don't know what the hell happened in last week's show. I don't know what you guys talked about. You guys just did Inside the Jungle, and I was like in the chat room just arguing with this guy.
It's so funny.
I mean, seriously, that guy. I mean, Dalton could throw 8 touchdowns and no interceptions, and it wouldn't be good enough for that guy. And old mismanagement. I swear to God, mismanagement would argue with me that I spelled the word "the" wrong in one of my articles.
I was just about to give a score update, and then AC beat me too. So they just kicked the field goal.
Yep.
God, sorry, Nick. You want me to go take a walk, dude? I'll go take a walk.
No. I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining at all, and I wasn't complaining during the show.
No, I felt bad about that.
A statement that you were asking me. That's how I was going to wrap it, and it was perfect. It worked out great.
Okay, I feel bad.
That just means that you are becoming an excellent podcast host.
We're on the same wavelength, dude.
Yeah, you guys are both excellent. Mickey is as well. I hope Mickey's all right. I have not heard one thing from him at all this week.
I need to text him to see where he's going before the game.
He might already be in Indy. I have no idea.
That's cool. There.
He was going up. He told me he was going up Sunday morning. I wanted to go up there tonight. I was hoping to do the podcast from our hotel. I booked a hotel before the games were announced, thinking the hotels would jump, and but no one else could go up the night before, so we're leaving tomorrow. My brother-in-law is picking me up at 5:45.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Rough.
Well.
So I got in just a little bit here. I got to pack the old cooler, get it ready to go. Nick, I'll try to call in after the game tomorrow. I'm gonna be 100% honest. There's a possibility that I could be slightly overserved, mainly by myself.
Right.
If that's the case, I won't bother you with my gibberish. If I did, I would sound like I was swallowing the phone. Like at the beginning of it seemed to get better throughout Jeff's time with us, but at the beginning, I couldn't understand a word he was saying.
Yeah, that's another thing. I love Jeff Hobson. I really, really do, and we got to work on. But I mean, it is what it is with him. And the phone. I'm thankful that he came on though. But you're right. It's like, what are you saying, Jeff? You couple in the fact that he's got a deep, thick Boston accent.
Yeah.
And the fact that he eats his brown like he. Did you like my Hobson impression right there?
Did
over here, Nick.
Is he actually a Bengals fan? You think, or
he writes like it?
Well, I know he's a big Red Sox fan. I'm assuming he's a Patriots fan as well.
That's what I would assume.
I would think if you write for a team, though, you kind of end up, having a fandom, for them. As long as I wasn't writing for someone like the Steelers, Browns, or Ravens, I could probably, come off as a fan.
I don't know if you guys saw this during the show, but somebody was commenting on the YouTube page for this episode, and calling us racist pigs, and it was bizarre. And I'm seeing these updates come on my phone as we're doing the show. I'm like, what the hell's going on?
What is that?
From what? Say?
I don't know. I think we were talking about AJ Green or something. Well, that user got blocked.
Racist pigs. It was during this show?
Yeah. I kept seeing updates show up on my phone.
Racist pigs.
Yeah, actually, yeah. They might if I still have them on here.
I guess we need to criticize Dalton real quick.
No, they're gone. They're gone. Bummer.
I've got Daniel Brooks. Is that
on Twitter?
I know it's not Eric Oxley because he's a good listener.
Doc Ox.
Yeah.
I think Doc is going to the game tomorrow.
Yes.
No, it's not Daniel Brooks either. He's just.
Oh, I meant to give Daniel Brooks a shout out. He's over in England, and he won our Patreon fantasy league. Hi, Fatal. How are you?
Oh man, I'm doing well. You racist guys.
Yeah.
What's up, Fatal?
Yeah, that's right.
That is beyond ridiculous. I've never heard anything so stupid.
It was so bizarre. Like, I kept seeing him come across my phone, and you could tell it was like a spam account kind of thing. And I don't even know if they were like legitimately listening, but it was bizarre.
I've been called a lot of things in my life, and that's not one of them.
See if it.
You guys have any interest in the Steelers and Ravens game tonight? You watching it?
Go Ravens.
For
I'm
sure.
rooting for the Ravens.
Go Ravens.
I might go to one of my favorite pizza joints and sit down and watch it.
We got to get you to meet out with those guys out in SoCal that meet at that bar.
I know, man. I know.
Fatal, where are you watching the game tomorrow?
No, I will not lie, man. I think AC has me wanting to watch it at a adult club, man, a gentleman's club.
Well, I hope Andy Dalton makes it rain appropriately for the adult club.
Nice, that's a nice reference. But nah, I'm probably watching here in my living room, man.
Hold on. I missed this. Did I just hear Fatal's going to a house of ill repute to watch the game? Did I just hear that?
Yeah, because of your bachelor party reference, it put it in my mind now.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing. That's awesome.
I've heard rumors that the Browns have already given up on Johnny Mandel and that they're going to trade him this offseason.
I would have given up on him before I drafted him. They should have done their homework before they picked him.
That's so stupid.
Yeah, that party thing was beyond that's the dumbest thing. And how about Gordon just being a jackass right with him and not showing up? Yeah, that's after what he's been through for him to even do something like that.
That Gilbert guy sounds like he's I never heard any issues with him, like attitude-wise coming into the draft. But he made a comment about Dante Whitner the other day, and if I were Whitner, I'd punch him in the mouth.
That team was 7-4.
Yep.
And they finished 7-9. I think that's the second year in a row they finished on a losing streak like that.
Not to toot my own horn, but I may have on the podcast said that I could see the Browns losing every game after that.
And I thought that was an overrated stretch anyway because they had beaten some powder puffs for the first few games.
And they had some
I don't know. They had beaten some really scrubby teams. I can't even remember who it was, but it was a couple.
Remember they had that huge comeback against Tennessee. They shouldn't have won that game.
But yeah, LOL at the people who thought that they were going to be better than the Bengals at the end of the year. Eat crow, you bastard.
Fatal. What strip club do you go to that has TVs? I don't know that I've ever seen TVs at a strip club.
I have.
I
mean, honestly, like if there's TVs at the strip club like these,
they have every game on, and it's like everywhere. They're everywhere.
Scott, all you got to do is go to Covington and the Brass Ass. They've got TV there.
Well,
Brass Ass. Wait, hold on. There's a place called Brass Ass.
Yeah, there is. But here's but hold on. Here's what I would say.
First place I've ever been to.
Hold on. If the strip club has TVs, how ugly must the chicks be if people want to be watching the TVs over the dancers?
I mean, come on.
They want to keep you there to spend more money, dude. That's what they probably want to do there.
Yeah.
Brass Ass. Oh my god, that's the best thing I've ever heard, dude. Yeah. Oh my god.
You need to go to Cincinnati, AC. Maybe we should have a podcast meetup at the.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe we should have a Cincy Jungle Christmas party at the Brass Ass.
If your team scores a touchdown and you get a lap dance, you reward yourself. I don't know why I guess it's all
Oh my gosh, that is absurd.
Departments, man, women and the football.
We'll have to ask Mickey next week about the brass ass. See what he says.
I gotta tell you though, I bet those ones in South Beach, they probably got some talent though, right,
A
Fatal?
little different than Covington, Kentucky.
Oh yeah, that's what I was about to tell you. I was about to answer your question. There are some hot ones over here, man. And I hate to be promoting those places, you know, but King of Diamonds over here. They got some Madonnas. They got a couple of places over here that are you know, pretty nice to go to.
Yeah, right. Now we know why LeBron left.
Well, Fatal, if you're getting a lap dance every time the Bengals score, I hope you go broke tomorrow.
No, man. Nobody wins in Cleveland, man. I hope LeBron learns that.
Well, yeah, I can't argue that.
I bet you they don't have a whole lot of talent in the golf club.
Michael Jordan could have put in that crappy city on his back.
Mistake by the lake.
Hey, Fatal, do you ever listen to Dan Lebitard?
Yeah, man, he's funny as hell. His poppy
He's so funny, dude. I think he's.
I do like Highly Questionable. That is a funny show.
Oh man, have you heard his the deal he does? His dad does that commercial, that fake LeBron commercial, where it's like, "That city betray you." You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, he did an epic rant the other day. I don't know if you guys noticed that Lebitard does rants when the Heat win titles or when they win series, and he's like, "Give it to me again, whatever." His dad did one the other day. His poppy. Oh my gosh, it was hilarious. He went on LeBron hard.
That show's funny. That show's really funny.
Yeah, if you guys can listen to the rant, listen to his poppy's rant. I think it's on YouTube. Just listen to the rant about LeBron, man. It was hilarious.
Where the game they play about famous athletes looking like a certain like normal person, and like they said Andy Dalton looks like a shoe salesman at Foot Locker. And what was one, dude? Oh my gosh, some of them are so funny. Oh my god, you got to look it up on YouTube. They talk about famous athletes or coaches or whatever, and like a specific, like Pete Carroll looks like the shirtless yachtsman that steals your wife and goes sailing with. Like it's like utterly absurd stuff, but it's so funny.
Yeah, I think Levitard is pretty hilarious, man. He gets a lot of people don't like him outside of Miami, but he's hilarious.
Hey, who's that?
This is my daughter, Allie. Can you say Hooday?
Hooday.
Oh, Hooday.
Allie, I like your headband.
Oh, and Scott says he likes your headband.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You tell him what you did today?
Went to play soccer.
And how many goals did you score today?
I don't know.
You scored so many, she can't even keep track. That's right, Fatal. You read my mind.
Too many of them.
I think he scored, what, 2?
No, I scored a lot.
I think it was 3.
No, don't shortchange me, she said. Way more than 2.
She knows it's more than 2.
5?
Who's going to win tomorrow?
Who plays?
Who plays? Who do you think plays?
Manchester United?
Well, they'll win tomorrow, yes. But that's the Bengals in the playoffs.
Nick, what are you teaching in your house?
She pointed to the Bengals sign. You want to say hi, Ben?
Hi.
You want to get in the shot?
I'm good.
I'm good? Okay. Can I get a Hooday?
Hooday.
Attaboy.
Now, your son got some Bengals swag for Christmas, didn't
Yes,
he?
he did. He got a brand new Bengals hat, a brand new Bengals sweatshirt, a brand new Bengals scarf. He's going to be looking fly at the bus stop.
Yeah, buddy. How old are your twins?
The fact that I said fly. They are 6 years old. They're in 1st grade. You want to hear something crazy, guys? Not you. I am going to. When the Bengals went to the Super Bowl the last time, I was in 2nd grade, and now here they are. They're almost in 2nd grade, and that was like the the Bengals' heyday back then. Now here we are, almost a generation later, and the Bengals are they're good.
We had for that Super Bowl, we had a Super Bowl party, and so we had a fake football field set up with all the Bengals starting lineup guys. Remember the Tim Crumry starting lineup where he's like got his hands like straight up, and so we had like Tim Crumry, and I believe we had Tim McGee, Eddie Brown,
nice,
Boomer, and James Brooks. Oh, and Nicky Woods, of course.
Cold cuts.
Cold cuts.
I gotta get that and add that as a drop. Good to get some cold cuts today.
I'm stoked you did the cojones one, dude.
Cojones.
That's rad. That's rad.
Nick, maybe that could be the name of the callers for the show, the cold cuts.
Maybe that's okay. I see what you're saying. So we were trying to come up with a name for fans of the show, and I've heard junglers. I've heard I don't know. I've been trying to think of a name, and I didn't know this, but a group of tigers is known as a streak. So I was going to call streakers, but that just sounds stupid.
That sounds kind of creepy.
Sounds a little perverted. Yeah.
So maybe cold cuts. Maybe we could figure out a way to get make that the name of the callers and the fans of the show. You guys are all cold cuts.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You can go to the line and you can go to the phone line and get some cold cuts every time.
See, this is my little Andy Dalton.
Hey, see, man. Hey, I just got one request, man. When the show starts next week or whatever after we win, I want the show to start off with Anthony's prediction that we were gonna lose. Sorry, Anthony, I love you, but that's the way I want it.
Well, he stepped away for a second, but I'll make sure we remember it.
What?
We'll tell him that again, Fatal.
This is what I think we should start with, Nick. We need to get video footage of Chris from Dayton eating that boot with some barbecue sauce on it. And,
because
the show should start.
Popping a couple of mollies or whatever.
He's been missing. He has not been around. You notice he has not called in either.
Well, that's because he doesn't want to take his crow that he deserves.
I'll just call in if we lose. He'll call in if we lose.
You say hi, Ben?
Hello.
Say who day?
Who day?
See, Ben is my little Andy Dalton. He's an awesome redhead.
Look at that.
Who's going to win tomorrow?
The Bengals.
Who's your favorite player?
Andy Dalton.
Attaboy.
In the shot.
Oh,
hey, that's the same favorite. That's the same favorite player as Steve from the chat room.
They want to get in the shot. They're fighting over the camera. It starts early.
Are they watching the game with you, Nick?
Oh, they will. No, I don't want you to sit up here.
I ran into a guy at work on Tuesday, I guess it was Monday or Tuesday, and he had found out that I wrote for Cincy Jungle, and he wanted to know what I thought about the game on Sunday, and I was like, oh, I thought it was they did all right, blah blah blah, and they launched into his criticism of Dalton, and I'm like, there's plenty of blame to go around for that game, but if I'm going to put blame on that game, Dalton's like 5th or 6th on my list of places that I'm going to place blame for that game.
You're talking about the Steelers game?
6?
Yeah.
6.
Okay, Anthony is taking umbrage to that, Scott.
I take massive umbrage.
Anthony, are you talking or having a seizure?
Both.
Doing
both. Your response is both.
Kurt's walking through a subway station right now. What the hell is he doing?
I'm at work. I'm at work, and I'm going to get dinner.
Mute your phone. It's going to cause me to have a seizure the way it keeps cutting back.
I'm sorry, man.
What's up, Kurt? How are you?
Nothing. We go watch the rest of these wildcard weekend games and hope someone breaks Ben Roethlisberger's legs.
Is it snowing?
Kurt,
it's raining
down there?
No.
Kurt looks like he's in the Blair Witch Project or something, dude.
I kicked the map in the river.
Hey, Moss. Hey, Moss, how are you, man? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
He coined the term webgating, and he joins us here on our. It's kind of nice to have an after show again. We haven't done this in a while.
So, Steve, you were taking umbrage with my 5th or 6th with Dalton. So,
Yeah, Frosty Rucker just had a big play, by the way. But go ahead.
So where were you putting him on the list of
I think he said half an umbrage, didn't you?
places to blame?
Higher than 6th.
All right. So, I would put punt return, defensive line, AJ Green. That's 3. So that would already put Dalton at 4. Before that, I would go with game plan, being 5 or 4. So that puts
What are you
Dalton at
ranking?
5. Where I put
We're ranking the fault list of what happened on Sunday night.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
where would you go?
What good does it do? We didn't win the North, but I mean we're still in the playoffs. We still have a chance to go forward. No
Kurt,
point in.
Dalton needs to. I don't know. We don't expect him to be spectacular at Joe Montana, but he needs to make routine throws. And what pisses me off is he just looks flustered sometimes with the routine throws. He throws the ball high. He throws it sails on him. He just needs to throw it like he does, and when he did on that last drive, I think when we drove down the field and took momentum of the game, he just needs to do that on a more of a consistent basis. That's his only knock. He's just very
Totally right. And, a lot of people are, hey, he played well in the second half. But he was driving on the, go ahead or tying drive there. But totally, yeah. But 2 interceptions early, regardless of whose fault they may or may not be. At least one of those was his fault. Bengals would not have been in a position where they had to drive and be desperate at the end of the game without those turnovers. I just think those early turnovers just deflates the whole team. I think they sit there and they go, dude, really? After they see an interception, and I think it affects them the rest of the way. But
don't you think the offense did the same thing? Like whenever Ben threw that giant pass over the top to Antonio Brown, and had an 84-yard reception. Don't you think Andy Dalton and them are sitting on the sidelines going, "Come on, defense, really?" I mean, everybody fucks up. Everybody messes up. It's what you do afterwards.
Earmuffs.
And is it? I mean, and is it me, or does he need to keep the ball more on these options? He's had numerous plays where he's had, room to run if he had kept the ball, and he doesn't keep it. If you're gonna make him a threat and run those plays, we need to make him keep it a little more often. That's what I think.
Yeah, he could. But Anthony,
Cam Newton had a whole bunch of them tonight already.
The early interception, though, that was the one where, Green stopped his route. That's going to get picked every time.
But how do you know that's on Green, though? How do you know that wasn't a read option? Well, not a read option, but an option route where he has the decision to say, hey, either you read the coverage and you continue streaking up the sideline, or you undercut it. Where Green cut it, he was wide open.
It was we used to talk on Twitter. I had it with Scotty on Twitter. I was like, he stopped and he was in the perfect route. Dalton can't just throw it up without knowing where he's going. He
was wide open with that with the decision Green made. He was wide open.
Well, yeah, but that's clearly a timing route. So on a timing route, he does have to throw it before he knows. He threw that at the top of his drop. So as soon as he hit his third step or whatever it was, he threw it. And so Green cannot stop on that because Green could run 82 different routes and he could be wide open, but that doesn't do any good if that's not where Dalton's expecting him to be.
Plus, the ball was already out.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, you're right. He stopped the route. He was wide open. But the fact that he stopped and the ball was already in the air. So if there's a read option in there, that read should have already happened, and he made the choice too late to stop.
it was a pump and go, so it wasn't like an option route or anything like that. Like if you watch the replay, Dalton pumps it, and after he pumps it, one of the defensive linemen is getting ready to hit him, so he just threw it. It just happened when when he looked back when Dalton was throwing, he thought he was going to throw it short, but he ended up throwing it long towards the route. That's what I saw. I think.
Okay, so what about the second one? What about the second one?
That one's all Dalton.
Yeah,
that one's all Dalton.
All right, I will fight you a little bit on this. I say it's 50-50.
A lot of times, man, because he runs the right route, he's wide open, and it must be frustrating for the ball to sail at your feet or for the quarterback to throw it high. I mean, at the same time, he shouldn't give up on his quarterback, but sometimes it can be very frustrating and not have the routine throws be right on you. You have to most times make spectacular plays just for it to be a routine catch.
All right, so let me ask this question because I think it's
on the Green fumble. Should Dalton have secured that better for Green?
No, that's on Green.
No, not the fumble, the interception.
Right. All right, so let's ask this question because it seems like we ask it every week, whether it needs to be asked or not. Can and should the Bengals explore quarterback options in the offseason?
I mean, they got A.J. McCarron. That's what they did last year. Isn't he supposed to be our backup next year?
But
that's probably as far as they're going to go.
We don't even know if he can play.
It's true. He's been on IR all year.
On what Dalton does
tomorrow
and going forward. That's where you get your answer, because in the regular season he's a lock, and you know what? We can't sleep on the importance of him getting the job done in the regular season. When he looks terrible, yes, but to have that winning record that he has, you know, they say Russell Wilson is a winner, but he has a great team, and he leads the team a little bit better than Dalton does, but at the same time, something is set for winning in the regular season, but it all depends now on this postseason. If he goes out and he plays solid and we lose because of the defense, keep Dalton. You don't explore anything else. You probably just explore a solid backup. But if he thinks up the joint, you definitely need to think about it. You need to consider it. You need to consider another quarterback.
What about you, Amat? What do you think?
Well, I think my first question would be, who's the free agents that would be available? Like, okay, so
Mark Sanchez.
Well, no, I'm not talking him. Okay, so Atlanta, right?
No.
I'm serious. That's the best free agent. It's Mark Sanchez.
What's going on with Atlanta? Are they keeping Matt Ryan? Could he be cut?
Yeah, but do you want Matt Ryan too? I mean, he throws a ton of picks too.
That's a guy with a terrible postseason record.
But outside of that, then
Dalton. What about so if you could trade for Jay Cutler, would you do it?
No.
Earmuffs, no.
Okay. All right. I'm just throwing out hypotheticals here. That's why the debate is so dumb, because nothing's going to happen, because they're not going to be in a position to draft anybody, and they're not going to spend in free agency either.
So what do they do then? What if he falls on his face again tomorrow? And then we sit here and we go, well, we got 10 wins. It's awesome, but that's I mean, after 4 tries, that's as far. That tells you that's where that quarterback's taking you. It's as far as he's taking you.
Hold on. Give me a second here. So here's what I get tired about with the Dalton playoff. So Peyton Manning started his playoff career 0 for 3. Peyton Manning did not get his first playoff victory until his 6th season in the league. Joe Flacco gets a whole lot of credit for being a winning playoff record. Let me tell you this. Joe Flacco, in his second year, won a playoff game going 4 for 10 for 34 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 1 interception. But he gets credit because he won. I mean, that's far worse than any of Dalton's losses. Joe Flacco also won his first playoff start going 9 for 23, 39% completion, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Through his first 5 playoff games, Joe Flacco had 6 interceptions and 1 touchdown, same as Andy Dalton. And he has, I don't know, maybe 300 yards. I mean, he was terrible, but they won because the defense was good. So he gets credited for being a winning playoff quarterback, whereas Dalton had a defense that completely crapped the bed all 3 years, averaging 100. I wrote this down. in Dalton's 3 playoff losses, rushing defense, 171.4 yards per game, and only giving up 184 passing. You can't win when your defense is giving up 171 yards rushing.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I just add something to it. I definitely agree that he gets way too much flack and way too much blame. But at the same time, when you're a realist, he struggled badly. And at least if he gave you one, like I said, this is why I say tomorrow is all predicated on tomorrow. If tomorrow he has a solid game and shows you at least, like he did, well, not even really he did, but if he shows you at least that he has something going forward, that he can improve upon what he did the first 3 years, now we're talking. Now you're saying, okay, it wasn't him. You know, he brought his part, but everyone else struggled. It all depends on how he does. But if he stinks up the joint one more time, like the way he's done, I think that's where you have to get on. And that's why I kind of wanted us to at least draft Bridgewater and look at it and take a chance, because he's looked like a stud at times.
I like Bridgewater.
And we could have had him. But that's just maybe it's because he's a Miami kid and I'm a little biased. But I thought that would have been a good project to have in case it didn't work. And like Anthony said, not to pay Dalton until the end of this postseason or the end of this year. We kind of jumped the gun. Luckily, it was a friendly deal for us to move on if he doesn't do well, and we won't eat up all that cash. But at the same time, if he stinks up the joint, I'm with you, Scotty, but if he stinks up the joint tomorrow like he's done and he doesn't give us any glimpse of hope that he can get past his woes in the playoffs, at least with a good statistical game, I think that's where people are pissed off, and they should be.
Amos, you said you had a question for AC?
Yes, I do, actually. So, AC, on the flip side, what does Dalton have to do in this game for you to gain confidence? So, let's take it to a different direction. What do you want to see out of him for you to kind of feel a little bit better about the situation?
I'm going to give him a small bit of a pass because we talked about all of the weapons he's missing this week. I mean, Green, possibly Gresham, Eifert, Jones. I mean, there's a lot of passing weapons out of that offense that and that's what the Bengals have done. They've realized their quarterback has limitations. He's a winner, but he has limitations, and so they tried to surround him with a lot of different weapons. Well, a lot of those weapons are now out of the lineup for this playoff game. So what I want to see Dalton do, he cannot turn the ball over. He's got to rely on those running backs a lot, and probably in the passing game by both guys, mostly Gio, but even Hill catching the ball. And he's going to have to go off his initial read and get his second or third option on some of these throws, because what they're going to do is if there is a pass play, they're going to blanket Sanu because they know that that's one of their only threats that they have in the passing game. So he's going to have to come off of his first read and make some plays. And if he just moves the sticks, doesn't turn the ball over, and relies on the running backs, that should be the game plan. But if he's averaging about two turnovers per playoff game, and he's only got one touchdown pass in the playoff game, so if he plays clean and sticks to kind of some of the offensive game, what I think the offensive game plan should be, I'd be pretty happy.
Well, okay, so AC and Fatal. So if we're gonna go with his stats, you know, Joe Flacco through his first 5 games was 3-2, which we would say we're all happy for, and yet had a 47.5% completion, 1 touchdown to 6 interceptions, just like Dalton, and a average 77.8.
He's winning.
Yeah, but is he winning? I mean, if Dalton.
Awesome run that year they won a Super Bowl.
Hold on. So Flacco won a game going 4 for 10 with no touchdowns and 1 interception. If Dalton goes 4 for 10 tomorrow with 1 interception and no touchdown, but the Bengals win, is that enough? Are you going to say he won? Everyone's going to say the Bengals won despite Dalton. They're not going to give him credit for that win.
I'd say he got it done, and I'd say that he fought another week. Yeah, he does the next week. Listen, I'm a Dalton defender. I'm just being a realist as well. If he stinks it up again, even I can't defend that.
It's getting harder to.
And at least Flacco, the year that they won that Super Bowl, he had ridiculous stats. I mean, he's pretty much.
But that was like his 10th game in the playoffs by that time.
There's also going to be the chorus of people that, oh, he doesn't have what I said just a minute ago. He didn't have Eifert. He didn't have Green. He didn't have Jones. There's always going to be an excuse, and if he plays poorly, there's always going to be that inbred excuse of, hey, he didn't have his weapons this time, or hey, his defense. I get it, dude. That a lot of aspects have not come together in these playoff games. Dalton is just one of them, but some of those better quarterbacks, those quote-unquote elite quarterbacks, rise above that kind of stuff, and they win games. And if he goes, I don't care if he goes 4 for 10 and they win, I'd be ecstatic. But I wouldn't attribute that win to him. But I'd say, hey, you know what? The guy is a winner in the playoffs. He's won a game in the playoffs now. Let's build on that and go from there. That's how I would label it.
But I'm with Scotty on one aspect where Dalton should not be getting all of the blame. It's as an organization, we often look befuddled and we look lost in the big games. The reason that those other QBs win even when they struggle is because in some other facet of the game, the team either carried them or put them in a position where the quarterback can make a play at some point and the quarterback came through. My thing is, like Scotty said, giving up 180 yards running and falling apart when your defense is awesome. At some point, yeah, if he's missing all his weapons, then other facets of the team and other facets of the game need to realize that he is having that, and we need to win despite it. I think that he gets a lot of the blame when the team struggles, and yeah, his stats look terrible, and that doesn't help it. But I think that a lot of it is a Jeremy Hill fumble here, a AJ Green fumble here, a special teams touchdown that we give to Antonio Brown. I don't know, a penalty when we stopped them on third and we could have gotten momentum. It's stuff like that that's not on Dalton. So that's why I will give him kind of a pass. And if he's missing all his weapons, damn it, run the ball, play good defense.
Yeah, I mean,
look at the Cardinals. They're down to their third quarterback, and they're still winning. So, I mean, at some point, it comes down to the team helping Dalton out, too.
Yeah, I mean, last year, certainly Dalton deserved a big portion of that blame, But, 196 yards is what the Bengals gave up running on the ground. You are not going to win if your quarterback's Peyton Manning or Tom Brady if you give 196 yards on the ground. It's just not going to happen. I mean, Dalton had 334 yards passing. The 3 turnovers killed them, but again, that turnover by Bernard in the first half going into the end zone, that was killer. The run defense, that was killer. So, I mean, we give credit to Flacco for winning with 34 yards passing, simply because he gets a W next to his name when he did absolutely nothing to help.
Yeah, but he also didn't cost his team as well.
Maybe yes, maybe no.
I'm sure he has.
I mean,
you don't think there's a game out there where Flacco plays horribly and he's
Texans
the reason
game
that they
2 weeks
lose?
ago.
Oh, yeah.
Texans game 2 weeks ago. They're lucky they even be in the playoffs.
Yeah,
that's
every quarterback.
Before that Super Bowl run that Flacco went on, his postseason winning percentage was very good, but his postseason numbers were absolutely brutal. And that in 2012 he blew up. I mean, his postseason numbers in 2012 were really good, but prior to that, his postseason numbers were terrible.
Well, wasn't he just really average that year? Like he was up and down all year, and then all of a sudden he gets in the playoffs and he's on fire. Like he plays like a Pro Bowl caliber, MVP, maybe a potential Hall of Fame quarterback for 4 straight games and gets him a ring. But during the regular season, he's just your average middle of the pack guy.
So this is what a good.
Go AC.
I just was saying this is what a good quarterback does for you. In the Super Bowl between the Packers and the Steelers, Pittsburgh ran 23 times for 126 yards and a touchdown. Green Bay ran 13 times for 50 yards, 0 touchdowns. Aaron Rodgers threw for 304 yards, 3 touchdowns. And the Packers win. I mean, that's just what a good quarterback. They let up a lot of rushing yards. They didn't run the ball well, but their quarterback carried them to a win. I
mean, that's one of the best quarterbacks of all time, I think. Look, Dalton's never going to be Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning. He's not that type. He's not talented enough. I mean, he has to be the Joe Flacco, Trent Dilfer type that wins with a good team around him.
Brad Johnson.
Brad Johnson. I mean, he's good enough to be that guy. He's never going to lead a team like Aaron Rodgers or Manning.
I know he's not, but that's kind of my point. Like, do you sit here and kind of just, okay, let's continue to build around and try and lift him up, and then you suffer these injuries, and I don't know. But it's a really tough spot. It really is a tough spot.
Well, it is a tough spot because they're not good enough to get a high draft pick, and they're not bad, or they're not bad enough to get a high draft pick. But he's not good enough to be that guy. But I mean, yeah, I'd love to have an Aaron Rodgers type, but where are you going to get that guy?
No, it's hard. But back to Scotty, what do you think they move on from? I mean, not move on from quarterback, but bring someone in, or what do you do? Do you just stick with Dalton regardless?
He's got through next year. He's got through next year because that's when these first 2 years is when his contract's really manageable.
Yeah.
In terms of cap hits and all that stuff. So they're going to give him this year and next year. And if he still is the same guy that we've seen, over the past 4 years, then they might make to look a change. But I mean, it's going to take through 2015 at least before they do that. At least in my opinion. Is
there somebody in the draft that you're absolute in love with that you would say, yep, he's the guy?
Here's the problem is that. I mean, here's the problem is that you just can't. As much as people don't like Dalton, I get it. They have valid points, but who are you going to get that's better? I mean, as much as people don't want to admit it, Dalton is a top 12 quarterback in this league. I mean, people will say that someone like Matt Stafford's better. No way. Give me Dalton hands down. Matt Stafford may be able to throw it through a wall, but he also has been to the playoffs twice, and he is Calvin Johnson. So, there's like 8 or 9 quarterbacks that are really good and are hands down better than Dalton. And then after that, you get into guys like Jay Cutler and the Andy Daltons. There's just not that many good quarterbacks. And I mean, this is the guy that has led the team to 4 straight Super Bowls. Playoffs. I mean, that was awesome. It's 4 straight Super Bowls.
Yeah, we're having a different conversation if that's the case, buddy. We're having a different conversation.
I think we are, but
playoffs.
But I mean, he's got the top winning percentage amongst Bengals quarterbacks. He's got the record for yards and touchdowns. I mean, his rookie year, he took over a team that a lot of people picked to go 0-16, and he went to the. I mean. Look, honestly, I hear the arguments. They're all correct. That's the beauty about Dalton is that people that hate him are 100% right, and the people that support him are also 100% right.
Who he is? He's Marvin Lewis at quarterback. That's exactly who he is. He's Marvin
You're kind
Lewis.
of right. I think we can agree on that part.
You read my mind because I was about to say a lot of people are calling for Marvin Lewis to be fired, but he's done things that this franchise has never seen in terms of success on a consistent basis, and yet people want him gone, but Andy Dalton gets a pass. That's what I was going to bring up.
It's Marty Schottenheimer, dude. But
I wish it was Marty Schottenheimer because Marty Schottenheimer was at least getting the AFC Championship games.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, all right, boys. I would love to stay, but I got to go pick up my daughter. So I'm going to have to peace out. I will hopefully talk to you guys.
I need to get to. It's time for dinner.
All right.
Moss, it's good hearing from you, man. Thanks for joining us.
Not a problem. See you
Everybody
guys.
else in the chat room, you guys are awesome.
Hey, don't let mismanagement toss you around, man. Give him hell.
That's right. Keep giving him hell.
Hey, Scotty, but after all that said, man, I have Dalton throwing for almost 300 yards tomorrow and being the reason why we win, even with all that.
I hope so. That'll be a big accomplishment without Green and maybe Gresham.
Yeah.
all he's got to do is turn around and hand the ball off. That's what he needs to do tomorrow.
Brandon Tate. Brandon Tate.
Okay. I think we've officially gone around the bend here on this after party. Fatal, have a good one. We'll talk to you tomorrow, man.
All right, man. You know, man, good show by you guys, man. Like always.
Thank
man.
you.
Take it easy.
Chat room, you're awesome.
See you guys.
Again tomorrow. We'll Scott, have fun. AC, have fun. Happy birthday to Aunt Betty.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you Wednesday night.
All right. See you guys.
Bye, guys.
Good.
Good.